The day humans stopped being nice shattered the galaxy's complacency. On Zeta 9, a planet of rolling purple fields and crystalline spires, the galactic community's illusion of peace crumbled in an instant. Human Ambassador Greg Porter, a man of average height but extraordinary resolve, stood before the assembled alien delegates. His face, usually a mask of diplomatic neutrality, contorted with rage. "No more," he growled, his voice carrying through the cavernous chamber. "Humanity will no longer tolerate your lies and exploitation." Before the stunned audience could react, Porter lunged across the polished obsidian table. His target, Ambassador Tina of the Bajan delegation. The Bajan's violet skin paled as Porter's fist connected with her elongated jaw. The crack of bone echoed through the hall, followed by gasps and shouts of alarm. Centuries of human pacifism ended in that moment. The summit, originally convened to discuss minor trade disputes, descended into chaos. Other human diplomats, as if awakened from a long slumber, followed Porter's lead. They turned on alien representatives, attacking those complicit in the Bajorans' crimes. News of the incident spread faster than light across the galaxy. On distant human colonies, citizens who had long suffered under secret Bajan enslavement and experimentation felt a surge of hope. Their tormentors would finally face justice. In orbit around Earth, massive ships shed their disguises. What alien observers had dismissed as harmless research vessels revealed their true nature. Warships of unparalleled destructive capability. Humanity's long-dormant war machine roared to life, catching alien defenses completely off guard. Greg Porter, now the de facto leader of humanity's revolution, coordinated the assault from a hidden command center deep within Earth's crust. His voice, firm and unwavering, issued orders to fleets across the galaxy. "Target Bajan outposts first," he commanded, "then move on to their allies. Show no mercy to those who showed none to us." The human onslaught revealed the true extent of Earth's technological superiority. Weapons thought to be centuries beyond human capability tore through alien defenses like paper, faster-than-light drives, more advanced than anything the galactic community had seen, allowed human forces to strike multiple systems simultaneously. Alien species scrambled to form alliances against the human threat, but found themselves hopelessly outmatched. The galactic order, long maintained through the manipulation and exploitation of humans, crumbled in the face of humanity's unexpected ferocity and military prowess. As the dust settled on the first day of conflict, the galaxy held its breath. Humanity, long underestimated and dismissed as weak, had embraced its reputation as Deathworlders. The species that evolved on a planet trying to kill them now turned that strength outward, unleashing centuries of pent-up aggression. Greg Porter stood at the helm of this new era, his eyes blazing with determination. The galaxy would never again mistake human kindness for weakness. The age of human dominance had begun, and every species would remember the day the Deathworlders decided to stop being nice. As the shockwaves of Greg Porter's actions reverberated across the galaxy, Earth's true might emerge from the shadows. The Sol system, once perceived as a bastion of peace, revealed its formidable defenses. Massive orbital platforms materialized around Earth and its colonies, shedding their holographic camouflage like a snake discarding its skin. Admiral James Hawthorne stood on the bridge of the EFS Thunderchild, Earth's most advanced warship. His unwavering focus swept over the holographic displays, showing the unfolding events across the system. "Activate all defense grids," he ordered, his voice calm, but carrying an undercurrent of terrifying fury. "It's time to show the galaxy what humanity is truly capable of." As if responding to his words, the orbital platforms bristled with weapons beyond the comprehension of most alien species. Energy fields shimmered into existence, forming an impenetrable barrier around humanity's celestial holdings. On Mars, hidden doors in the rusty landscape slid open, revealing vast shipyards that had lain dormant for centuries. Assembly lines roared to life, churning out sleek, predatory vessels at an astonishing rate. In the asteroid belt, similar facilities emerged from their rocky cocoons, adding to the growing armada. News of Earth's militarization spread like wildfire through the galactic community. On Proxima Centauri 3, a bustling trade hub, alien merchants watched in horror as their communication devices displayed the latest reports. By the void, a tentacled Zograk trader whispered, its scales paling. The humans, they've been planning this all along. In the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, pandemonium reigned. Representatives from hundreds of species argued, pleaded, and threatened as they grappled with the sudden shift in the cosmic balance of power. We must strike now, before they can fully mobilize, shouted the Vexillian ambassador, his feathered crest standing on end. Fool, retorted his draconian counterpart. Did you not see what they did to the Bajan outposts? We need time to prepare. As the council devolved into chaos, humanity wasted no time. Admiral Hawthorne coordinated a series of lightning strikes against key Bajan military installations. The EFS Thunderchild led the charge, its advanced faster-than-light drive allowing it to appear and disappear with impunity. Bajan defense stations, once thought impregnable, crumbled under the onslaught of human weaponry. Energy beams sliced through shields as if they were tissue paper, while missiles phased through solid matter to detonate within the heart of enemy fortifications. On Bajoran's Prime, General Kira of the Bajan High Command stared in disbelief at the tactical hologram before her. Impossible, she muttered, watching as another sector went dark. How could they have hidden such power? The answer came not in words, but in actions. Across a dozen worlds complicit in the Bajan crimes against humanity, carefully placed human operatives sprang into action. Power grids failed in cascading blackouts, plunging entire cities into darkness. Communication networks dissolved into static, leaving planetary governments deaf and blind. On Zograk Prime, the military high command prepared to launch a counteroffensive against this human upstart. Fleet Admiral Sith, confident in his species' martial prowess, gave the order to attack. Launch all ships, he commanded. We'll show these mammals the folly of challenging the Zograk Imperium. The Zograk battle fleet, thousands of ships strong, surged toward the Sol system. As they approached Earth orbit, Admiral Sith allowed himself a triumphant hiss. Victory seemed assured. Then, without warning, space itself seemed to twist. The quantum disruptors mounted on Earth orbital platforms fired, creating zones where the very laws of physics broke down. Zograk ships began to disintegrate, their atomic bonds unable to hold together in the face of this impossible weapon. Admiral Sith watched in horror as his mighty fleet crumbled into cosmic dust. His last transmission, cut short as his flagship succumbed to the quantum disruption, echoed across Zograk communication channels. Retreat. For the love of the ancestors, Ardar dash. As the conflict escalated, smaller species saw an opportunity in the chaos. The Arcturian Collective, long oppressed by the Bajan Empire, reached out to Earth with an offer of alliance. In a secure bunker beneath the Himalayan mountains, Greg Porter received their transmission. He exchanged a glance with Admiral Hawthorne before responding. "We accept your offer of friendship," Porter said, his voice carrying the weight of humanity's newfound power. "Together, we'll forge a new future for the galaxy." As Earth consolidated its alliances and continued its campaign of retribution, the remaining galactic powers made their move. Near the swirling gases of the Orion Nebula, a vast armada began to assemble. Ships from dozens of species, united by fear and desperation, prepared for a final stand against the human threat. Admiral Hawthorne observed the gathering fleet from the bridge of the Thunderchild. His expression remained impassive, but a fire burned in his eyes. "They still don't understand," he mused, more to himself than to his crew. "This isn't a war they can win. It's a reckoning." As the human fleet moved to intercept the alien armada, the galaxy held its breath. The next few hours would determine the fate of countless civilizations and reshape the cosmic order for millennia to come. As Admiral Hawthorne contemplated the impending clash with the alien armada, a priority communication from Earth interrupted his thoughts. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing the stern visage of Marcus Raven, the newly appointed Director of Galactic Intelligence. "Admiral," Raven's voice crackled through the secure channel, "we've uncovered a critical weakness in the alien alliance. Operation Achilles' Heel is now in effect." Hawthorne's eyes narrowed. "Proceed, Director." Raven's image was replaced by a tactical overlay of the Zograk fleet. "Our deep cover agents have been in place for years. They're ready to sow discord among the Zograk High Command." As Raven outlined the plan, Hawthorne's mind raced with the possibilities. The Zograk, formidable as they were, had always been prone to internal power struggles. Now, that very trait would be their undoing. "Excellent work, Director." Hawthorne nodded. "We'll provide the perfect distraction." Hawthorne out. The Admiral turned to his tactical officer. "Set course for the Tau Ceti system. It's time we struck a blow at the enemy supply lines." The EFS Thunderchild and its escort fleet slipped into hyperspace, emerging hours later in the Tau Ceti system. Before them lay a sprawling Zograk supply depot, its defenses formidable but unsuspecting. "Activate cloaking fields," Hawthorne ordered. The human ship shimmered and vanished from sight, becoming ghosts in the void. Silently, they glided past the outer sensor perimeter. Hawthorne watched the countdown timer, his fingers drumming on the armrest of his command chair. When it reached 0, he spoke a single word: "Fire." A barrage of quantum-tipped missiles erupted from the cloaked ships, their trajectories carefully calculated to bypass the depot's shields. The first volley struck the primary fuel reserves, igniting a chain reaction that lit up the black of space. Alarms blared across the Zograk facility as subsequent strikes decimated ammunition stockpiles and destroyed vital infrastructure. The depot's defenders scrambled to respond, but found themselves firing blindly into empty space. As the Tau Ceti raid unfolded, Marcus Raven sat in his fortified bunker beneath Langley, Virginia. Before him, a wall of screens displayed real-time feeds from across the galaxy. He watched with grim satisfaction as reports of Zograk infighting began to trickle in. On the Zograk homeworld, General Xark burst into the high command chamber, his scales flushed with anger. "Traitor!" he hissed at Fleet Admiral Vrock. "You sabotaged the Tau Ceti depot to discredit me." Vrock's frills flared in outrage. "Madness! It was the humans, you fool." As the two military leaders lunged at each other, their subordinates took sides. The seeds of discord, planted by human agents years ago, blossomed into full-blown chaos. The ripples of the Zograk conflict spread quickly through the united alien fleet. In the crystalline halls of the Varlnak's hive ship, the collective mind hummed with calculations. Probability matrices shifted, victory scenarios crumbled. The Varlnak's overseer, a being of pure energy, addressed the Alien War Council. "The odds have shifted unfavorably. We must withdraw to preserve our species." Protests erupted from other alien representatives, but the Varlnak's decision was final. Their ships, accounting for a significant portion of the United Fleet's computational power, disengaged and vanished into hyperspace. Seizing the moment, Greg Porter strode into the Global Communications Center in Geneva. He took a deep breath, straightened his jacket, and nodded to the technician. "Send the broadcast." Porter's face appeared on screens and holographic projectors across the galaxy. His voice, firm and unwavering, echoed through countless alien vessels and colonies. "To all species of the galaxy," he began, "Earth extends an offer of amnesty and protection. Abandon this ill-fated alliance against humanity. Join us in forging a new era of peace and prosperity. As Porter's words resonated across the stars, Dr. Elena Petrova and her team worked feverishly in a top-secret laboratory beneath the Ural Mountains. Surrounded by salvaged alien technology, they made the final adjustments to a device that promised to change the course of the war. "It's ready," Petrova announced, her voice hoarse from hours of non-stop work. She held up a small, pulsing orb. "The psychic disruptor is operational." Within hours, the first batch of disruptors was en route to Admiral Hawthorne's fleet. As they were integrated into human ships, reports came in of more defections from the alien alliance. The Quarians, master strategists of the galaxy, had reached out with an offer of their own. In a secure transmission to Earth, the Quarian archstrategist spoke in measured tones. "We possess the United Fleet's battle plans. This information can be yours in exchange for guaranteed autonomy in human space." The Global Defense Council convened in an underground bunker, faces grim as they weighed their options. After hours of debate, they reached a decision that would alter the course of the war. "Activate the Lazarus Protocol," the council chair announced. Across the solar system, hidden facilities rumbled to life. Swarms of self-replicating combat drones emerged from their long slumber, ready to join humanity's armada. Admiral Hawthorne stood on the bridge of the Thunderchild, watching as the human fleet assembled for its boldest move yet. The ships of a dozen alien races, now allied with Earth, took up formation alongside humanity's vessels. "All ships, prepare for multi-vector FTL jump," Hawthorne commanded. "We strike before they can regroup." As the fleet initiated its lightning advance towards the Orion Nebula, long-range sensors picked up an anomalous reading. Lieutenant Commander Chen frowned at her console, running the data through multiple filters. "Admiral," she called out, "I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from within the nebula. It's like nothing we've ever seen before." Hawthorne leaned in, studying the readouts. "Magnify that sector." The main view screen zoomed in on a section of the nebula, revealing the ghostly outline of an enormous structure. Its design was clearly alien, yet it bore no resemblance to any known species architecture. "Is it active?" Hawthorne asked, his mind racing with the implications. Chun shook her head. "Negative. Sir, it appears to be dormant. But if we could activate it..." The Admiral's eyes narrowed as he contemplated this new variable. The structure could be a weapon, a power source, or something beyond their comprehension. Whatever it was, he knew it could tip the scales of the coming battle. "Send a priority message to Earth," Hawthorne ordered. "We may have found something that could change everything." As the human fleet drew closer to the Orion Nebula, the scattered remains of the alien alliance scrambled to mount a defense. But their once mighty armada was now a fractured shadow of its former self. The stage was set for the largest interstellar battle in galactic history. Humanity, once dismissed as weak, now stood poised to reshape the cosmic order. And deep within the swirling gases of the nebula, an ancient mystery awaited, holding the potential to unlock secrets that could transform their understanding of the universe itself. As the human fleet approached the Orion Nebula, Admiral Hawthorne's command console lit up with an incoming priority transmission. The stern face of Director Marcus Raven materialized on the screen, his expression grave. "Admiral, we've uncovered critical intelligence," Raven said without preamble. "Our deep cover operatives have confirmed the existence of a massive alien space station hidden within the nebula. Codename Nexus." Hawthorne leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "What are we dealing with, Director?" "It's the command center for the United Alien Fleet, housing weapon systems capable of destroying entire star systems. If we don't neutralize it, this war could take a dire turn." The Admiral's mind raced, processing the implications. He turned to his tactical officer. "Lieutenant Commander Chen, analyze the nebula's electromagnetic properties. I want a full report on how we can use them to our advantage. Chin nodded, her fingers flying over her console. Aye, sir. Hawthorne returned his attention to Raven. We need to hit them from the inside. Do we have anyone who can infiltrate the station? Raven's image flickered as he nodded. I'm dispatching Major John Reeves and his team. They're our best shot at this. Ghost, Hawthorne murmured, recognizing the operative's call sign. If anyone can pull this off, it's him. As the transmission ended, Hawthorne addressed his bridge crew. Prepare for engagement. We're going to give Major Reeves the distraction he needs. The human fleet surged forward, their advanced shields allowing them to navigate the nebula's chaotic gases with precision. As they emerged from the swirling mists, the fragmented alien forces came into view. All ships, execute Maneuver Epsilon, Hawthorne commanded. The human vessels broke formation, using the nebula's electromagnetic interference to mask their movements. Alien ships, their sensors compromised, fired blindly into the void. Aboard a stolen alien shuttle, Major John Ghost Reeves and his team approached the Nexus. The massive station loomed before them, its true scale hidden by the nebula's gases. Remember, Reeves addressed his team, we have 3 objectives. Team Alpha, you're on reactor sabotage. Bravo, weapon systems. Charlie, data extraction. Questions? Silence met his words. These were Earth's most elite operatives, each chosen for their specific skills and unwavering determination. As they docked with the station, Reeves felt a familiar tension coil in his gut. Showtime, he muttered, leading his team through the airlock. Using forged credentials provided by human double agents, they bypassed the initial security checkpoints. The team split up, each heading to their designated targets. Reeves, leading Team Alpha, moved swiftly through the station's winding corridors. They encountered minimal resistance at first. The station's crew focused on the battle raging outside. As they neared the main reactor, alarms began to blare. They're on to us, Reeves growled. Double time. Back on the Thunderchild, Admiral Hawthorne received an urgent communication from Earth. Dr. Elena Petrova's face appeared on screen, her eyes wide with excitement and fear. Admiral, the energy signatures we detected earlier. It's not just a structure. It's a weapon, an ancient superweapon of unimaginable power. Hawthorne's breath caught in his throat. Can we control it? Possibly, Petrova replied. But, sir, if it activates fully. The implications hung in the air between them. Hawthorne nodded grimly. Understood, Doctor. Keep working on it. As he closed the channel, Chin called out, Sir, we're detecting multiple energy spikes from within the Nexus. On the station, Reeves and his team found themselves pinned down outside the reactor control room. The security systems, more advanced than they had anticipated, adapted quickly to their intrusion methods. We're running out of options, Reeves shouted over the din of weapons fire. He made a split-second decision. Triggering Protocol Omega. All teams, evacuate immediately. He input a series of commands into his tactical pad, initiating a cascading system failure that would destroy the Nexus. But as the alarms intensified and emergency bulkheads began to seal, Reeves realized they might not make it out in time. Admiral Hawthorne, receiving Reeves' status update, knew he had to act fast. Captain Rogers, he called over the comm, take your squadron and get our people out of there. Captain Sarah Viper, Rogers acknowledged the order, leading her stealth fighters through the chaos of battle towards the Nexus. They weaved through debris and enemy fire, their advanced systems allowing them to navigate the treacherous nebula gases. As Rogers' squadron approached the doomed station, the battle around them took an unexpected turn. The Quarians, honoring their secret pact with Earth, turned on their former allies. Alien ships fired on each other, sowing confusion and paranoia throughout their ranks. Amidst the escalating chaos, a new phenomenon caught everyone's attention. The ancient superweapon within the nebula began to stir. Massive structures shifted and realigned, pulsing with an otherworldly energy. Both human and alien forces paused momentarily, awestruck by the spectacle unfolding before them. The weapon's awakening seemed tied to the intense energy discharges from the ongoing battle. As Captain Rogers' fighters neared the Nexus, racing against time to extract Reeves and his team, the superweapon's activation sequence continued to accelerate. Energy readings spiked to unprecedented levels, casting an ominous glow throughout the nebula. Admiral Hawthorne, faced with multiple crises converging at once, steeled himself for the decisions that would shape the fate of humanity and the galaxy itself. The Nexus was failing, Reeves' team was trapped, and an ancient power beyond their understanding was awakening before their eyes. The next few moments would determine everything, and Hawthorne knew that every order he gave could tip the scales between victory and annihilation. Annihilation and triumph. In that moment, Admiral Hawthorne made a decision that would alter the course of the war. All ships, disengage from current targets, he commanded, his voice firm and unwavering. Form a defensive perimeter around the activating structure. Now! The order caught everyone off guard. Human vessels broke away from their engagements, engines flaring as they maneuvered into new positions. Alien ships, their coordinated assault now in disarray, hesitated. "Sir," Lieutenant Commander Chen questioned, her brow furrowed in confusion. "We can't risk losing control of that device," Hawthorne explained, his eyes fixed on the swirling energies of the nebula. "Whatever it is, it's our key to ending this war." As the human fleet repositioned, the Nexus station became a beacon of chaos. Alarms blared through its winding corridors, echoing off metal walls as alien crew members scrambled in panic. Amidst the mayhem, Major John Ghost Reeves and his team moved with purpose. "Reactors going critical," one of Reeves' operatives reported, her voice barely audible over the cacophony of alarms. Reeves nodded, his face set in unwavering determination. "Weapon systems are offline. Time to exfil." They sprinted through the labyrinthine structure, dodging panicked aliens and avoiding structural collapses. The station groaned around them, artificial gravity fluctuating wildly. Outside, Captain Sarah Viper, Rogers piloted her stealth fighter with preternatural skill. Her squadron weaved through the debris field, surrounding the dying Nexus, their engines pushed to the limit. "Ghost, this is Viper," she called over the comm. "We're approaching your position. Be advised, docking bay defenses are still active." "Copy that, Viper," Reeves responded, his breath coming in short bursts as he ran. "We'll be there." Rogers gritted her teeth, banking her fighter hard to avoid a burst of plasma fire. "All right, people, let's give our boys some cover." Her squadron split formation, unleashing a barrage of precision strikes against the Nexus's remaining point defense turrets. Explosions blossomed across the station's hull, creating a momentary respite in the hail of enemy fire. Inside, Reeves and his team reached the docking bay. The massive chamber was a scene of pandemonium, with alien craft trying to flee the doomed station. "There!" Reeves shouted, pointing to where Rogers' fighters hovered just beyond the atmospheric barrier. They sprinted across the exposed bay, debris raining down around them as the station's structural integrity continued to fail. Just as Reeves reached the edge of the force field, the artificial gravity gave out completely. He leapt, pushing off with all his might, sailing through the vacuum towards the waiting fighter. For a heart-stopping moment, he floated in the void, the stars of the Orion Nebula stretching out before him. Then, with a bone-jarring impact, he collided with the hull of Rogers' craft. "I got you," Rogers said, her voice tight with concentration as she maneuvered to collect the rest of the team. As the last operative was pulled aboard, the Nexus let out a final, silent scream. The station's reactor went supercritical, tearing the massive structure apart in a blinding flash of energy. Viper to Thunderchild. Rogers called as her squadron raced away from the expanding debris field. Package secure. Nexus's history. On the bridge of the Thunderchild, Admiral Hawthorne allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. Well done, Captain. Return to the fleet immediately. We're not out of this yet. He turned his attention to the swirling energies of the nebula, where the ancient structure continued its activation sequence. Get me Dr. Petrova, he ordered. Moments later, the scientist's face appeared on the main view screen. Admiral, she greeted, her eyes alight with excitement. We've made a breakthrough. What have you found? Hawthorne asked, leaning forward. It's not a weapon, Petrova explained, her words tumbling out in a rush. It's a communications array of unprecedented power. This device could potentially broadcast a message across the entire galaxy instantaneously. Hawthorne's mind raced with the implications. Can we control it? We're working on interfacing with the technology now, Petrova replied. But Admiral, if we can harness this, we could end the war without firing another shot. The Admiral nodded, his decision already made. Do it. I'll inform Earth's leadership. We need to be ready to broadcast as soon as possible. As Petrova's team worked feverishly to unlock the secrets of the precursor device, the remnants of the alien fleet regrouped. Their command structure in tatters, following the destruction of the Nexus, they nonetheless understood the importance of the artifact within the nebula. Sir, Chen called out, her voice tense. Long-range sensors are picking up enemy formations. They're preparing for another assault. Hawthorne's lips pursed. Deploy the Lazarus Protocol. I want those drones forming a defensive screen around the array. As he gave the order, a priority transmission came through from Earth. Director Marcus Raven's face appeared, his expression a mix of triumph and concern. Admiral, our deep cover agents are in position, Raven reported. They're ready to initiate sabotage protocols on your command. Hawthorne nodded grimly. Do it. We need every advantage we can get. As the human fleet braced for the coming storm, the ancient array pulsed with ever-increasing power. The fate of humanity, and indeed the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. The next few moments would determine whether the stars would witness the birth of a new era of peace or the continuation of a devastating war. Devastating war. As the human fleet held its position around the ancient array, a new threat emerged from the depths of space. Admiral, Chen called out, her voice tight with urgency. Long-range sensors are picking up a massive energy signature. It's unlike anything we've ever seen. Hawthorne's eyes narrowed as he studied the tactical display. A swarm of new contacts appeared at the edge of the nebula, approaching at speeds that defied conventional physics. Identity? He asked, already knowing the answer. Chun shook her head. Unknown. Sir, but they're not following any known flight patterns. This isn't the United Alien Fleet. The bridge crew watched in stunned silence as the mysterious armada arrived, positioning itself between the human forces and the remnants of the alien coalition. The newcomers' ships were sleek and otherworldly, their hulls shimmering with an iridescent glow that seemed to bend light itself. All ships, maintain defensive positions, Hawthorne ordered, his mind racing through potential scenarios. Weapons hot, but do not fire unless fired upon. Suddenly, every communication channel burst to life with a single, unified transmission. A face appeared on the Thunderchild's main view screen, distinctly alien, yet hauntingly familiar. Attention, warring factions. The being spoke, its voice resonating with an almost musical quality. I am High Commander Kreldar of the Jandor. We have returned to prevent further bloodshed and destruction. A collective gasp rippled through the bridge. The Jandor, a species thought to be nothing more than a myth, extinct for millennia. Hawthorne stepped forward, his face a mask of controlled calm. This is Admiral Hawthorne of the Earth Defense Fleet. We welcome your offer of mediation, High Commander. However, you must understand our caution given the circumstances. As the two leaders engaged in a tense dialogue, Dr. Elena Petrova and her team worked feverishly to interface with the precursor array. In a sealed chamber deep within the Thunderchild, Petrova's fingers flew across holographic displays. "We're close," she muttered, sweat beading on her brow. "Just a few more." The array pulsed, sending a shockwave of energy through the nebula. Ship systems flickered, and alarms blared across all vessels in the vicinity. "What was that?" Hawthorne demanded, steadying himself against his command chair. Before anyone could respond, a new threat materialized. A group of alien warships shimmered into existence, their cloaking technology finally revealed. Bajoran vessels detected. Chun shouted, "They've breached our defensive line." The bridge erupted into controlled chaos as Hawthorne barked orders. "All ships, engage hostile targets. Lazarus Protocol drones, initiate adaptive countermeasures." As the battle ignited anew, the precursor array continued to pulse with increasing intensity. Each wave of energy seemed to intensify the Jean d'Or ship's ethereal glow. In the midst of the fray, Major John Ghost Reeves and his team prepared for their most daring mission yet. They stood in the Thunderchild's launch bay, checking their gear one final time. "Sir," Reeves addressed Hawthorne through his comm link, "we're ready to deploy. Permission to infiltrate the Jean d'Or flagship?" Hawthorne hesitated for a split second before responding. "Permission granted, Ghost. Find out what they're really after. And for God's sake, be careful." As Reeves and his team boarded their stealth shuttle, Captain Sarah Viper, Roger's voice crackled over the comms. "This is Viper Squadron. We're moving to engage and provide cover for Ghost insertion." Roger's fighters streaked across the battlefield, their movements a ballet of precision and controlled aggression. They wove between enemy ships, drawing fire and creating openings for Reeves' shuttle to slip through. The Lazarus Protocol drones, meanwhile, demonstrated their adaptive capabilities. They split into specialized units, some forming impenetrable defensive screens, while others launched targeted strikes against the Bajoran ships. As the battle raged, Dr. Petrova made a breakthrough. The precursor array hummed to life, its ancient systems aligning with Earth's technology. A blinding flash erupted from the device, momentarily bathing the entire nebula in brilliant light. When the light faded, a massive holographic display materialized in the space between the warring fleets. It showed a detailed map of the galaxy, with several points pulsing with ethereal energy. All combat ceased as every being in the nebula stared in awe at the cosmic revelation before them. The display seemed to hold the promise of unimaginable power and knowledge. Aboard the Thunderchild, Admiral Hawthorne's mind reeled with the implications. This was more than just a way to end the current conflict. It could reshape the very fabric of galactic civilization. As the combatants grappled with this new reality, Reeves and his team approached the Jean d'Or flagship. Their stealth shuttle, masked by the lingering energy distortions, slipped past the alien vessel's formidable defenses. "We're in position," Reeves whispered into his comm, "preparing to breach." The next moves would determine not just the outcome of this battle, but the future of all sentient life in the galaxy. As Hawthorne contemplated his next order and Kreldhar's true intentions remained shrouded in mystery, the precursor array continued to pulse, its message to the stars only beginning to unfold. The galactic display projected by the precursor array bathed the battlefield in an otherworldly glow, revealing a vast network of points scattered across the cosmos. Admiral Hawthorne's eyes widened as he took in the implications of what he was seeing. "Chin, begin downloading all data from that array immediately," he ordered, his voice tight with urgency. "And get me a secure line to Earth. Director Raven needs to see this." As the Thunderchild systems began siphoning information from the ancient device, Hawthorne's gaze swept across the tactical display. The battle had momentarily paused, all sides seemingly stunned by the cosmic revelation before them. Aboard the Jandor flagship, Major John Ghost Reeves and his team moved silently through the alien vessel's corridors. Their advanced stealth suits rendered them nearly invisible, bending light around their forms as they navigated the ship's labyrinthine interior. "This doesn't add up," Reeves whispered into his comm. "The technology here, it's far beyond anything we've encountered. These aren't the remnants of an extinct race." As if to confirm his suspicions, a group of Jandor crew members rounded the corner ahead. Reeves and his team pressed themselves against the walls, hardly daring to breathe as the aliens passed within inches of their position. "We need to find their command center," Reeves said once the coast was clear. "Something tells me we're about to uncover the truth behind this entire conflict." Outside, in the swirling nebula, Captain Sarah Viper Rogers led her squadron in a deadly dance with the Bajan attack force. Her voice crackled over the comm as she barked orders to her pilots. "Wraith 2 and 3, use that gas pocket at Sector 7 for cover. Wraith 4, on my 6. We're going to hit their flank hard." Rogers' fighter dove through a dense cloud of cosmic dust, emerging behind a Bajan cruiser. She unleashed a barrage of plasma torpedoes, watching with grim satisfaction as the enemy vessel's shields flickered and died. Back on the Thunderchild, Dr. Elena Petrova's fingers flew across her console as she worked to decrypt the erased data. Suddenly, she gasped, her eyes widening in disbelief. "Admiral," she called out, her voice trembling with excitement. "You need to see this. The map. It's not just showing random points. Those are locations of other precursor artifacts." Hawthorne leaned in, studying the display intently. "My God," he breathed, "if we could secure even one of these." His thoughts were interrupted as the Jandor fleet suddenly burst into action. Energy weapons of terrifying power lanced out from their ships, carving through the defenses of both human and alien vessels with ease. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," Hawthorne shouted. "Lazarus Protocol drones, adapt and engage." The swarm of combat drones responded instantly, their collective intelligence evolving in real time. They formed intricate, shifting patterns that seemed to confound the Jandor targeting systems, buying precious time for the human fleet. High Commander Kreldar's face appeared on the Thunderchild's main view screen, his earlier pretense of benevolence replaced by cold grit. "You have meddled in affairs beyond your comprehension," Kreldar snarled. "The secrets of the precursors belong to the Jandor alone. Surrender now, and we may yet show mercy." Hawthorne's fist tight as he assesses options. The Jandor's superior firepower threatened to overwhelm them, while the Bajan forces, though battered, still posed a significant threat. In that moment, an encrypted transmission came through from Earth. Director Marcus Raven's face appeared on a secondary screen, his expression grim. "Admiral, we're activating Operation Black Hole," Raven said without preamble. "Commander Thompson is en route with the Void Ripper. Use it if you must, but be warned. Its effects are unpredictable." As if on cue, a sleek stealth ship shimmered into view at the edge of the battlefield. "Commander Jack Blackhole," Thompson's voice came over the comm, steady and determined. "Thunderchild, this is Blackhole. We're in position and awaiting your orders." Hawthorne nodded, his mind racing through potential scenarios. "Hold position, Blackhole. We may need that ace up our sleeves sooner rather than later." Turning to his communications officer, Hawthorne made a decision that would shape the course of the conflict. "Open a channel to all ships, including the alien forces," he ordered. "It's time we presented a united front against the Jandor deception." As the channel crackled to life, Hawthorne addressed the disparate fleets, his voice carrying the weight of the moment. This is Admiral Hawthorne of the Earth Defense Fleet. To all combatants, human, Bajoran, and others, I propose an immediate ceasefire and temporary alliance. The Jean d'Or threat affects us all, and only together do we stand a chance of survival. A tense silence followed his words as the various factions processed this unexpected offer. In the quiet, the precursor array continued to pulse, its ancient energies a stark reminder of the power at stake. Aboard the Jean d'Or flagship, Major Reeves and his team finally reached what appeared to be a central data hub. As they worked to access the alien systems, Reeves stumbled upon a horrifying discovery. "Admiral," he whispered into his comm, his voice tight with shock. "You're not going to believe this. The Jean d'Or. They've been harvesting genetic material from every species they've encountered, including us. This goes far beyond simple conquest." As the implications of this revelation sunk in, the battlefield outside erupted into chaos once more. The Jean d'Or, realizing their true nature had been exposed, launched an all-out assault on the precursor array. With time running out and the hope of the universe hanging in the balance, Admiral Hawthorne faced a crucial decision. The Void Ripper waited, its untested power both a promise and a threat. The alien fleets hovered on the brink of either alliance or continued hostility. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, more precursor artifacts waited to be discovered or exploited. The next few moments would determine not just the outcome of this battle, but the future of all sentient life in the galaxy. As energy weapons flared and ships maneuvered in deadly formation, the cosmic chess game entered its most critical phase. As energy weapons flared and ships maneuvered in deadly formation, the cosmic chess game entered its most critical phase. Admiral Hawthorne's voice rang out across the communication channels, his offer of a temporary alliance hanging in the tense vacuum of space. For a heartbeat, the battlefield fell silent. Then, like a dam breaking, responses flooded in. The retreating Bajoran ships, led by Commander Corvex, signaled their acceptance. Other alien factions followed suit, their transmissions a cacophony of different languages and tones, all conveying the same message: agreement. Hawthorne's eyes narrowed as he processed this unexpected turn of events. Chun confirmed those signals. Petrova, keep working on that array data. Everyone else, prepare for immediate tactical integration. The Admiral's fingers flew across his command console, rapidly reorganizing his fleet. All ships implement Coalition Protocol Omega. We're about to write a new chapter in galactic history. Within minutes, liaison officers were dispatched to each alien vessel. The Thunderchild shuttle bay became a hub of frantic activity as humans in Earth Defense Force uniforms climbed aboard small craft alongside their new alien allies. On the main view screen, a Bajoran cruiser took up position alongside a human destroyer. Their contrasting designs, one sleek and angular, the other bulbous and organic, highlighted the unprecedented nature of this alliance. "Admiral," Chin called out, his voice tight with urgency. "Incoming transmission from Major Reeves." Reeves' voice crackled through the comm, punctuated by the sounds of alarms and shouted orders in an alien language. "Sir, we've breached their central data core. You're not going to believe what we found." As Reeves relayed his discoveries about the Jean d'Or's millennia-long manipulation of galactic events, Hawthorne's expression hardened. "Download everything you can, Ghost. We need that intel." Suddenly, the precursor array pulsed with blinding intensity. A shimmering energy field expanded outward, enveloping the Thunderchild and a significant portion of the human fleet. "Petrova, report," Hawthorne barked. The scientist's voice was breathless with excitement. "We've activated some kind of defense system, Admiral. It's incredible. The timing couldn't have been better." The Jean d'Or fleet, perhaps sensing their deception was unraveling, launched a massive assault. Energy beams lanced out from their ships, only to dissipate harmlessly against the newly formed barrier. "All ships, hold position," Hawthorne ordered. Let them waste their energy. Outside the protective bubble, Captain Sarah Viper, Roger's voice crackled over the comm. Thunderchild, this is Viper. We're coordinating with Badron and Kelvin squadrons for a counterattack. Request permission to engage. Granted, Viper. Show them what we can do together. Roger's fighters streaked across space, flanked by an assortment of alien craft. They wove through the Jean d'Or formation with uncanny precision, exploiting weaknesses that neither species could have identified alone. Wraith 3 on my wing, Rogers called out. Kelvin Talon Squadron hit their power distribution nodes. Badron Striker Group target their weapon emplacements. The combined fighter force tore through the Jean d'Or fleet's defenses. Explosions blossomed in the void as key enemy vessels, including their primary weapons platform, were disabled or destroyed. Amidst the chaos, a sleek black ship shimmered into view at the edge of the battlefield. Commander Jack Blackhole, Thompson's voice came through, clear and determined. Thunderchild, this is Void Ripper. We're in position and awaiting your order. Hawthorne's eyes locked onto the Jean d'Or flagship. Thompson, target that command ship. It's time to end this. The Void Ripper's experimental weapon activated, creating a localized space-time distortion that began to tear the massive Jean d'Or vessel apart. Aboard the disintegrating flagship, Major Reeves and his team worked frantically to complete their data extraction. Alarms blared as the ship's structure groaned around them. Team, we've got incoming, Reeves shouted as a group of Jean d'Or soldiers rounded the corner. Energy bolts sizzled past their heads as they returned fire. In the chaos, Reeves spotted an incongruous sight, a Jean d'Or escape pod modified for human use. Everyone move. We've got our ticket out of here. As the team scrambled for the escape pod, Reeves' calm crackled to life. High Commander Krelthar's voice, filled with cold fury, echoed through the ship. You have sealed your fate, humans. If we cannot have the Precursor's power, no one will. Warning lights flashed across the Thunderchild's bridge as sensors detected a massive energy buildup in the Jean d'Or flagship. Admiral, Jin called out, his voice tight with alarm. They're overloading their power core. The explosion will destroy everything in the nebula, including the array. Hawthorne's mind raced, weighing options in split seconds. All ships, prepare tractor beams. We're moving the array. The Admiral's voice rang out across all channels, human and alien alike. This is Hawthorne. We need to create a massive tractor beam array. All ships capable of generating a tractor field move into position around the precursor structure. We're going to pull it out of the blast radius. Ships from every species present, even including a few defected Jean d'Or vessels, maneuvered into a complex formation around the ancient device. As one, they activated their tractor beams, straining against the colossal mass of the precursor array. Energy arced between ships as they struggled to move the structure. Engines flared white-hot, pushed beyond their design limits. Slowly, agonizingly, the array began to shift. Through it all, Reeves and his team hurtled through space in their commandeered escape pod, racing against the expanding distortion field from the Void Ripper. The pod bucked and shuddered as reality itself seemed to warp around them. On the Thunderchild's bridge, sweat beaded on Hawthorne's brow as he watched the Jean d'Or flagship's power reading spike to critical levels. The precursor array's movement seemed glacially slow in comparison to the rapidly escalating threat. As the Jean d'Or vessel began to emit pulses of energy that threatened to overwhelm even the array's powerful shields, Hawthorne gripped the arms of his command chair. The next few moments would determine not just the outcome of this battle, but the future of every species present, and perhaps the galaxy itself. As the countdown to the Jean d'Or flagship's detonation ticked away, Admiral Hawthorne's mind raced through potential scenarios. The precursor array's immense value to the newly formed alliance was clear, and its loss would be catastrophic. With seconds to spare, he made a decision that would alter the course of the battle. All human ships form up. Hawthorne's voice rang out across the comm channels. Position yourselves between the array and the Jean d'Or vessel. We're going to shield it with everything we've got. The human fleet moved with practiced precision, their ships creating a living barrier between the ancient technology and the impending explosion. Hawthorne watched as the Thunderchild took its place at the forefront of the formation, her hull gleaming in the nebula's ethereal light. "Activate the Lazarus Protocol," he ordered, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "Deploy all combat drones." Within moments, swarms of sleek, unmanned craft poured from the hangars of every human ship. They arranged themselves in a dense, multi-layered formation, creating an additional buffer against the coming onslaught. As the human fleet shifted into position, Major John Ghost Reeves and his team found themselves in a desperate race against time. Their commandeered Jean d'Or escape pod hurtled through the chaos of the battlefield, narrowly avoiding collisions with debris and stray weapons fire. "Hold on!" Reeves shouted as he manipulated the alien controls, guiding their craft towards the imposing silhouette of a human destroyer. "That's the Dauntless. If we can reach her, we might just make it out of this alive." The pod sensors blared a warning as the Jean d'Or flagship's energy readings spiked. Reeves gritted his teeth, pushing the small craft's engines to their limit. Come on, he muttered, watching as the distance to the Dauntless slowly closed. Aboard the HSS Dauntless, Captain Marcus Steele's eyes widened as he spotted the incoming escape pod on his tactical display. "Incoming vessel on Vector 227, he announced. "Prepare for emergency retrieval." The Dauntless tractor beam locked onto the pod just as the Jean d'Or flagship erupted in a blinding explosion. The shockwave rippled across space, slamming into the human fleet's protective formation with devastating force. Hawthorne braced himself as the Thunderchild shuddered under the impact. Warning klaxons blared across the bridge as damage reports flooded in. "Status," he barked, his squeezing hard as he gripped his command chair. "Multiple hull breaches on decks 4 through 7, his XO reported, her voice tight with tension. "Shields at 12% and falling. The Lazarus drones are. They're disintegrating, sir, but they're absorbing a significant portion of the blast." Across the human line, ships creaked and groaned under the strain. Several smaller vessels succumbed to the onslaught, their hulls buckling before erupting in silent explosions. Yet the majority held firm, their sacrifice ensuring the safety of the precursor array and their alien allies. As the initial shockwave passed, an eerie silence fell over the battlefield. Hawthorne leaned forward, his eyes scanning the main view screen. Through the slowly dissipating energy discharge, he could make out the familiar shape of the array, still intact. "We did it," he breathed, allowing himself a moment of relief before snapping back into action. "All ships, report status. Begin rescue operations immediately. Priority on escape pods and critical areas." The human fleet, battered but unbroken, sprang into action. Undamaged ships deployed shuttles and tractor beams, retrieving survivors from the void and offering assistance to their more heavily damaged comrades. On board the Dauntless, Captain Steele personally oversaw the retrieval of Major Reeves' escape pod. As the airlocks cycled open, Steele was there to greet the haggard team. "Welcome aboard, Major," he said, noting the data drives clutched tightly in Reeves' hand. "I believe you have something for us." Reeves nodded grimly. "Intel on the Jean d'Or, Captain. More than we ever dreamed of. This could change everything." As the immediate crisis subsided, Dr. Elena Petrova's voice cut through the calm chatter. "Admiral Hawthorne, you need to see this," she said, her tone a mix of excitement and apprehension. "I've made a breakthrough with the array systems. It's not just for communication. It can generate energy fields for defense and offense. This could be the edge we need." Hawthorne was about to respond when his tactical officer's voice rang out. "Sir, Long-range sensors are picking up multiple signatures. Jean d'Or reinforcements closing in from all sectors. The Admiral's mind raced, processing the new information. The scattered allies, the damaged fleet, the newly discovered capabilities of the array, and now an impending invasion force. He saw only one path forward. "Open a channel to all Allied ships," Hawthorne ordered. As the calm officer complied, he took a deep breath. "This is Admiral Hawthorne of the Earth Defense Fleet. In light of the Jean d'Or threat and our recent cooperation, I propose the formation of an interstellar defense coalition. United, we stand a chance against what's coming. Divided, we fall." As discussions erupted across the various alien factions, a new alert sounded. A massive ship of unknown design emerged from the depths of the Orion Nebula, its appearance adding yet another layer of complexity to the already chaotic situation. Hawthorne stared at the mysterious vessel, its sleek lines hinting at an advanced technology that surpassed even the Jean d'Or. "Scan that ship," he ordered, his voice taut with tension. "And someone get me Petrova. If that's what I think it is, we're going to need every bit of information she can give us about the precursors." As the battered fleet regrouped and the alien factions debated the proposed coalition, Hawthorne knew that the decisions made in the next few hours would shape the future of not just humanity, but the entire galaxy. The Jean d'Or reinforcements were closing in. The precursor ship loomed as an unknown factor, and the newfound allies remained uncertain. The battle was over, but the war was about to begin in earnest. The true test of their newfound alliance was about to begin. As the massive precursor ship emerged from the depths of the Orion Nebula, Admiral Hawthorne's eyes narrowed, his mind already formulating a plan. He opened a channel to the coalition fleet. All ships maintained defensive formation around the array. Intrepid Battle Group moved to investigate the new contact. Captain Liam Hawkins of the HSS Intrepid acknowledged the order. "Understood, Admiral. Moving to intercept." The Intrepid and its escort ships approached the mysterious vessel with caution, their sensors probing for any sign of hostile intent. As they drew near, the precursor ship suddenly flared to life. A shimmering energy field enveloped the Intrepid and its escorts, pulling them inexorably towards the larger vessel. "Admiral," Hawkins' voice crackled over the comm. "We're caught in some kind of tractor beam." Unable to break free, Hawthorne watched helplessly as the Intrepid and its escorts were swallowed by a massive opening in the precursor ship's hull. The bay doors slid shut behind them with a finality that sent a chill down his spine. On the Thunderchild's bridge, Dr. Elena Petrova's excited voice cut through the tension. "Admiral, I've made a breakthrough with the array's systems. It's not just for communication or defense. It can generate stable wormholes to specific locations across the galaxy." Hawthorne's mind raced with the implications. "Can you pinpoint the destinations?" "Yes, sir," Petrova replied. "They correspond to the artifact locations on the galactic map we discovered earlier." A plan began to form in Hawthorne's mind. He turned to his tactical officer. "Assign fleet elements to each potential wormhole exit point. We need to be ready to secure those artifacts before the Jean d'Or can reach them." As orders were relayed across the coalition fleet, Hawthorne's attention returned to the precursor ship. "Any word from the Intrepid?" His communications officer shook her head. "Nothing yet, Sir. Wait. We're receiving a transmission." Captain Hawkins' face appeared on the main view screen, his expression a mix of awe and apprehension. "Admiral, you're not going to believe this. We're inside some kind of advanced hangar bay, and we've made contact with, well, I'm not exactly sure what to call them." The camera panned to reveal shimmering, translucent figures standing before the Intrepid's crew. One of the figures stepped forward, its voice resonating with an otherworldly timbre. "Greetings, inheritors. We are the custodians of the Nexus, a failsafe created by those you call the precursors. Your recent actions have proven your worth to access its power. Hawthorne leaned forward, his mind racing with questions. Before he could voice them, his tactical officer called out urgently, "Sir, long-range sensors are picking up multiple signatures entering the nebula. It's the Jean d'Or reinforcements." The Admiral's eyes hardened as he assessed the situation. The Jean d'Or fleet vastly outnumbered their own, even with the coalition forces combined. They were out of time. "Dr. Petrova," Hawthorne called out, his voice steady despite the pressure. "Activate the array's wormhole capability. All ships, prepare for immediate deployment to your assigned coordinates." As the coalition fleet moved into position, the first wave of Jean d'Or ships emerged from the swirling gases of the nebula. Energy weapons flared to life, lancing out towards a defensive line of Allied ships. "Shields up! Return fire!" Hawthorne ordered, watching as the space around them erupted into chaos. The remaining Lazarus drones swarmed forward, their adaptive programming allowing them to form intricate defensive patterns. They weaved and darted between enemy shots, drawing fire and confusing the Jean d'Or targeting systems. On the Thunderchild's main view screen, shimmering portals began to appear near each group of coalition ships. Hawthorne watched as vessel after vessel disappeared into the wormholes, racing to secure the precious artifacts that could turn the tide of the war. Just as the last groups prepared to jump, the Nexus surged with power. An enormous energy shield expanded outward, encompassing the entire battlefield. The Jean d'Or weapons fire splashed harmlessly against its surface, buying precious seconds for the remaining coalition ships. Hawthorne made a split-second decision. "Thunderchild and Escort Group Delta, we're staying behind. We need to coordinate with the Nexus and hold this position." As the last of the coalition ships vanished into the wormholes, Hawthorne turned his attention to the massive Jean d'Or fleet pressing against the Nexus's shield. He opened a channel to the precursor ship. "Nexus, this is Admiral Hawthorne. We're prepared to stand with you against the Jean d'Or. What's our next move?" The response came not in words, but in a flood of data streaming across the Thunderchild systems. As Hawthorne began to process the information, he realized that the true battle for the hope of the universe was only just beginning. The flood of data streaming into the Thunderchild systems overwhelmed Hawthorne's senses for a moment before his mind adapted, processing the information at an unprecedented rate. He blinked, his vision overlaying with tactical readouts and status reports from across the battlefield. "It's incredible," Hawthorne breathed, his fingers dancing over the holographic displays that only he could see. "Commodore Volkov, prepare the fleet for coordinated defensive maneuvers. Pattern Sigma 7. Volkov's eyebrows raised slightly, but she didn't hesitate. "Aye, sir, all ships execute Pattern Sigma 7 on my mark." As the coalition ships moved into position, Hawthorne's attention split between the immediate battle and the distant wormholes where the bulk of their forces had disappeared. Through his connection to the Nexus, he could sense the emergence of coalition ships at various points across the galaxy. At the first artifact site, Captain Sarah Viper Rogers led her mixed squadron of human and alien fighters through the swirling vortex. They emerged above a scorched desert world, its red dwarf star casting an eerie crimson glow across the landscape. "All wings, report in," Rogers commanded, her eyes scanning the barren horizon. "Talon 2, standing by. Claw Leader, ready to pounce. Fong Squad, itching for action." Rogers allowed herself a small smile at the mix of human and alien call signs. "All right, people. Sensors are picking up a massive structure about 50 clicks north. That's our target. Stay alert for hostiles." As the squadron descended through the planet's thin atmosphere, violent winds buffeted their ships. Sand particles pelted their hulls, creating an eerie hissing sound that penetrated even the thick cockpit shielding. "Viper to all units. Rogers called out. "Adjust your shields to compensate for the sandstorm. It's playing havoc with our sensors." The fighters pushed through the swirling maelstrom, their sensors straining to penetrate the thick clouds of dust. Suddenly, a massive shape loomed before them, its angular sides rising from the desert floor like the bones of some long-dead leviathan. "There it is," Rogers breathed. "The pyramid. All units, form up and prepare for landing." As the squadron touched down near the base of the structure, proximity alarms blared across their cockpits. "Multiple contacts," Talon 2 shouted. "Coming in fast from the west." Rogers squinted through the swirling sand, her enhanced vision implants piercing the haze. What she saw made her blood run cold. A swarm of massive, insectoid creatures burst from the dunes, their chitinous armor gleaming dully in the red sunlight. "Defensive positions," Rogers barked, unholstering her plasma rifle. "Looks like the local wildlife isn't too happy about visitors." Meanwhile, in a distant system, Commander Jack Blackhole Thompson gritted his teeth as he guided his modified ship through the turbulent atmosphere of a gas giant. The vessel creaked and groaned under the immense pressure, but held firm. "Status report," Thompson called out, his eyes never leaving the swirling clouds outside the view screen. His science officer, Dr. Lena Sato, responded without looking up from her console. "We're detecting strong energy signatures about 200 kilometers below our current position, consistent with precursor technology." Thompson nodded grimly. "Any sign of the Jean d'Or?" "Negative, sir," the tactical officer replied. "But our sensors are limited in this soup. They could be right on top of us, and we wouldn't know until—" A massive explosion rocked the ship, cutting off the officer's words. Warning klaxons blared as Thompson fought to stabilize their descent. "Scratch that," Thompson growled. "Looks like the Jean d'Or found us first. All hands, battle stations." Back at the Orion Nebula, Admiral Hawthorne's mind raced as he processed the influx of data from across the galaxy. He could feel the strain of the neural interface, a dull ache building behind his eyes. "Sir," Commodore Volkov's voice cut through his concentration. "The Jean d'Or are intensifying their assault on the shield. We're detecting power fluctuations in sections 7 through 12. Hawthorne nodded, his consciousness split between the bridge of the Thunder Child and the vast systems of the Nexus. "Reroute power from the tertiary systems. We need to hold this line." As he issued the command, a searing pain lanced through Hawthorne's skull. Visions flashed before his eyes, alien worlds, ancient battles, and a darkness that seemed to consume everything in its path. Volkov noticed the Admiral's discomfort. "Sir, are you all right? Perhaps we should disengage the neural link." "No!" Hawthorne gasped, steadying himself against his command chair. "We need this connection. The fate of the stars depends on it." Across the void of space, on a rogue planet drifting in the darkness between stars, Major John Ghost Reeves led his team through the frozen corridors of an abandoned precursor facility. Their footsteps echoed ominously in the oppressive silence. "Movement ahead," whispered Corporal Chun, her rifle trained on a shadowy intersection. Reeves held up a fist, signaling the team to halt. He activated his thermal imaging, scanning the area ahead. What he saw made his breath catch in his throat. "We're not alone here, people," he murmured into his calm. "And whatever's moving around isn't human, or Jean d'Or." As the coalition forces battled across the stars, Dr. Elena Petrova's voice crackled over the emergency channel from the precursor array. "Admiral Hawthorne, I've made a critical discovery. There's a master artifact, one that could control all the others, if we can locate and secure it." Her transmission cut off abruptly as another wave of Jean d'Or ships slammed against the Nexus's energy shield. Hawthorne's mind raced, processing the new information even as he coordinated the defense of the Orion Nebula stronghold. The pieces were falling into place, But time was running out. As the battle raged on multiple fronts, Hawthorne became aware of a new presence in the back of his mind, ancient, powerful, and filled with an urgency that bordered on desperation. The precursors were reaching out to him, their thoughts intertwining with his own, and what they revealed about the true nature of the conflict and the fate of humanity and all alien species chilled him to his core. Chilled him to his very soul. The ancient presence in Hawthorne's mind surged, flooding his consciousness with images of cosmic battles and fallen civilizations. He staggered, gripping the edge of his command console as the visions threatened to overwhelm him. "Admiral," Volkov's voice cut through the mental maelstrom. "The Jean d'Or are intensifying their assault. Sections 7 through 12 are showing critical shield fluctuations." Hawthorne blinked, forcing himself back to the present. "Reroute power from tertiary systems," he ordered, his voice strained. "We must hold this line at all costs." As the Coalition forces fought to maintain their position in the Orion Nebula, the battle raged across the galaxy. On the desert planet, Captain Sarah Rogers and her mixed squadron of fighters had just touched down near the massive pyramid structure when proximity alarms blared. "Multiple contacts," Talon 2's voice crackled over the comm. "Coming in fast from the west." Rogers' enhanced vision implants pierced the swirling sandstorm, revealing a swarm of massive insectoid creatures bursting from the dunes. "Defensive positions," she barked, unholstering her plasma rifle. "Looks like the local wildlife isn't too happy about visitors." The air filled with the sizzle of energy weapons as the Coalition forces engaged the charging creatures. Rogers ducked under a massive pincer, rolling to her feet and firing a burst of plasma into the beast's thorax. "Push them back," she shouted. "We need to secure the artifact." Just as they began to gain the upper hand against the insectoids, a new threat emerged. The sky above them lit up with the telltale flashes of ships dropping out of hyperspace. "Viper to all units," Rogers called out, her voice tight. "We've got company. Jean d'Or assault force incoming. Fall back to the pyramid." The mixed squadron retreated under heavy fire, taking cover within the ancient structure. As the massive doors ground shut behind them, Rogers turned to her second-in-command. "Activate the artifact's defenses. We'll hold them off from here." Across the galaxy, Commander Jack Thompson's mission in the gas giant had taken an unexpected turn. His modified ship creaked and groaned as it descended deeper into the planet's turbulent atmosphere. "Energy signatures are intensifying," Dr. Sato reported, her eyes glued to her console. "Wait, this can't be right. The artifact isn't just floating in the gas layers. It's part of a larger structure." Before Thompson could respond, a violent explosion rocked the ship. Warning klaxons blared as he fought to stabilize their descent. "Jean d'Or ships," the tactical officer shouted. "They've found us." Thompson's mind raced, weighing their options. The artifact was within reach, but the Jean d'Or forces were closing in fast. He made a split-second decision. "Prepare the Void Ripper," he ordered, his voice grim. "We'll create a temporary safe zone around the structure. It's risky, but it's our only shot at buying enough time to secure the artifact." As his crew scrambled to carry out his orders, Thompson silently prayed that the gamble wouldn't backfire and damage the very thing they'd come to retrieve. On the frozen rogue planet drifting between stars, Major John Reeves led his covert team through the abandoned precursor facility. The eerie silence was broken only by the crunch of their boots on the icy floor. "Movement ahead," Corporal Chin whispered, her rifle trained on a shadowy intersection. Reeves activated his thermal imaging, scanning the area. What he saw made his breath catch in his throat. "We're not alone here, people," he murmured into his comm. "And whatever's moving around isn't human. Or Jean d'Or." Cautiously, they advanced toward the heat signatures. As they rounded a corner, they came face to face with a group of aliens unlike any they'd encountered before. Their bodies were long and serpentine, with multiple arms and large, multifaceted eyes. One of the creatures stepped forward, raising its arms in what appeared to be a gesture of peace. To Reeves's shock, it spoke in halting but understandable English. "We are scientists," it said. "Jean d'Or, but not like others. We study this place. Many cycles. We wish. No war. We offer knowledge. In exchange for protection." Reeves tense, his mind racing. Could this be a trap? Or had they stumbled upon potential allies in the most unlikely of places? Back at the Orion Nebula, Commodore Volkov watched with growing concern as Admiral Hawthorne struggled to maintain his composure. The neural interface with the Nexus was clearly taking its toll. "Sir," she said, her voice low and urgent, "perhaps we should disengage the neural link. The strain." "No!" Hawthorne gasped, steadying himself against his command chair. "We need this connection. The fate of all species depends on it." As if to emphasize his point, Dr. Petrova's voice crackled over the emergency channel. "Admiral, I've made a critical discovery about the artifacts. There's a fail-safe mechanism built into them, designed to prevent misuse by any single species. It requires representatives from multiple species to activate their full potential." Hawthorne's eyes widened as the implications of this revelation hit him. He turned to Volkov, his expression a mix of pain and determination. "Commodore, we need to implement a new strategy. Contact all coalition forces. We're going to bring together representatives from each species at the location of the master artifact." As Volkov relayed the orders, Hawthorne's mind raced with the logistics of this daring plan. They would need to locate the master artifact, protect their current holdings, and safely transport representatives across vast distances of space, all while under constant Jean d'Or attack. Suddenly, a new wave of information flooded his consciousness through the Nexus link. Massive energy surges were detected from the galactic core, dwarfing even the power of the precursor technology. Hawthorne's vision swam as he tried to process this new threat. His mind, already strained by the neural interface, began to fragment under the pressure. The last thing he heard before darkness claimed him was Volkov's voice, sharp with concern. "Admiral Hawthorne, medical team to the bridge, immediately." As Hawthorne collapsed, the fate of the galactic realm hung in the balance. The coalition forces, spread thin across the stars, faced challenges on all fronts. And somewhere in the vastness of space, an ancient power stirred, its awakening heralding either salvation or destruction for all sentient life. As Hawthorne collapsed, the fate of the galactic realm hung in the balance. The coalition forces, spread thin across the stars, faced challenges on all fronts. And somewhere in the vastness of space, an ancient power stirred, its awakening heralding either salvation or destruction for all sentient species. Commodore Elena Volkov sprang into action, her training kicking in as she witnessed Admiral Hawthorne's incapacitation. "Medical team to the bridge now," she barked, rushing to Hawthorne's side. As the medical staff swarmed around the fallen admiral, Volkov's mind raced, processing the flood of information from across the battlefront. She turned to the bridge crew, her voice steady and authoritative. "I'm assuming temporary command. Status report all stations." The tactical officer responded first, his fingers flying over the holographic interface. "Jean d'Or forces are pressing hard on sections 7 through 12. Shield integrity down to 63% in those areas." Volkov nodded grimly. "Reroute power from non-essential systems. We need to hold this line." She tapped her comm link. "Engineering, I need options for reinforcing our defenses." As the crew worked feverishly to stabilize their position, Volkov's gaze fell on the swirling data streams of the Nexus interface. The information Hawthorne had accessed before his collapse could be crucial. She hesitated for a moment, weighing the risks, then made her decision. "Prepare the neural link," she ordered. "I'm going in." On the desert planet, Captain Sarah Rogers and her team found themselves in an increasingly desperate situation. The ancient pyramid shuddered under the relentless Jean d'Or assault, dust raining down from the ceiling as energy blasts impacted the structure. Talon 2, status on those defenses. Rogers shouted over the din of battle. "No good, Captain," came the reply. "We can't get the systems to respond. It's like they're waiting for something." Rogers cursed under her breath, her eyes scanning the hieroglyph-covered walls. There had to be something they were missing. As she ran her hand along a series of symbols, a section of the wall slid open, revealing a hidden chamber. "In here, move," she ordered, ushering her team into the newfound space. Inside, they found a circular platform surrounded by strange, organic-looking pylons. At the center stood a pillar with a glowing, crystalline interface. "It's some kind of control system," muttered Rogers, studying the alien technology. Her eyes widened as she deciphered the symbols. "It needs blood samples from multiple species." She turned to her mixed squad of humans and aliens, her expression grim. "I know it's a lot to ask, but we need volunteers. One from each species represented here." Without hesitation, members of her team stepped forward. A Tractonian with scaled skin, an Arcturian with bioluminescent patches, and a hulking Tyrillian joined Rogers at the pillar. "Here goes nothing," Rogers muttered, pressing her palm against the crystal. A sharp pain lanced through her hand as the device drew blood. One by one, her alien comrades did the same. The chamber hummed to life, energy pulsing through conduits in the walls. Outside, they heard the distinctive whine of defense systems powering up. "It's working." Talon 2's voice crackled over the comm. Massive energy shield forming around the pyramid. Jean d'Or forces are falling back. Rogers allowed herself a small smile. They had bought themselves some time, but the battle was nowhere near the end. In the turbulent atmosphere of the gas giant, Commander Jack Thompson gripped his console as the Void Ripper's effects rippled through space-time. Alarms blared as the ship's sensors struggled to make sense of the rapidly changing environment. "Status report," Thompson barked, his eyes fixed on the swirling chaos outside the view screen. Dr. Sato's voice was filled with a mixture of awe and confusion. "Sir, the Void Ripper's interactions with the planet's atmosphere are creating gravitational anomalies. But there's something else. Look!" Thompson's jaw dropped as the sensor data perseverance into a coherent image. The gravitational distortions had revealed a vast network of structures threading through the gas giant's layers, previously hidden from their instruments. "It's not just a single artifact," Sato breathed. "The entire planet is a precursor installation." Thompson's mind raced, reassessing their mission parameters. "We need to find the central control hub," he decided. "That's where we'll find the answers we need." He turned to his pilot. "Take us in deeper. Follow the energy signatures. And keep an eye out for more Jean d'Or ships. They're bound to have noticed this too." As the modified ship dove further into the planet's depths, Thompson couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the verge of a discovery that could change the course of the war. On the frozen road planet, Major John Reeves faced a decision that could make or break their mission. He studied the group of Jean d'Or scientists, their serpentine bodies coiled with nervous energy. "You understand what you're asking?" Reeves said, his voice low and measured. "If this is a trap, you won't live to regret it." The lead Jean d'Or scientist bobbed its head in what Reeves assumed was a nod. "We understand. Consequences. But knowledge here, too important, must be shared." Reeves exchanged glances with his team, reading the mix of skepticism and curiosity in their eyes. He made his decision. "All right," he said, lowering his weapon slightly. You're with us for now, but one wrong move. The scientist raised its upper limbs in a placating gesture. We guide to great discovery. Follow. The joint human-John Doerr group moved deeper into the facility, the scientists leading them to a previously hidden lift. As they descended into the planet's depths, Reeves couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the verge of uncovering something monumental. Little did he know that across the galaxy, on multiple fronts, similar revelations were unfolding. The scattered coalition forces were each playing their part in a cosmic puzzle, the pieces of which were only now beginning to fall into place. As they delved deeper into the Precursor's legacy, the true scale of the conflict and the stakes involved was becoming clearer. And at the heart of it all, hidden in the tumultuous core of the galaxy, an ancient power stirred, its awakening sending ripples through the very fabric of space-time. Space-time, the ancient power stirring sent ripples through the cosmic fabric, its effects resonating across the galaxy. On Earth, Dr. Marcus Raven's secure terminal chimed with an urgent transmission. His eyes widened as he decrypted the message from his deep cover agent, Wraith. The John Doerr had made a significant breakthrough, decoding crucial parts of the Precursor database. They now knew the location of the forge. Raven's fingers flew across the holographic interface, relaying the intelligence to Commodore Elena Volkov. He knew the Coalition's timetable had just accelerated dramatically. Aboard the flagship, Volkov received Raven's transmission with unwavering perseverance. She surveyed the holographic display of the Galactic Theater, her mind racing through tactical possibilities. Lieutenant, patch me through to all Coalition commanders, she ordered, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. As the comm channels opened, Volkov outlined her two-pronged strategy. Attention all Coalition forces. We've received critical intelligence regarding the forge. The John Doerr are moving faster than anticipated. We must act now. She paused, allowing the weight of her words to sink in. I'm dispatching the bulk of our fleet to launch diversionary attacks on key John Doerr strongholds. Target their supply lines and communication hubs. We need to draw their attention away from the galactic core. Volkov's gaze swept across the bridge crew, noting their tense but resolute expressions. Meanwhile, I'm assembling an elite strike force for a direct assault on the forge. Captain Liam Hawkins will lead this operation. As Coalition ships across the galaxy prepared for their respective missions, Volkov turned her attention to the strike force. The most advanced vessels in the Coalition's arsenal were being outfitted for the perilous journey to the galactic core. Captain Hawkins stood at the helm of the lead ship, the Nexus Prime. His experience interfacing with Precursor technology made him the ideal choice to lead this crucial mission. As the strike force prepared for departure, Hawkins addressed his crew. We're about to embark on the most important mission of our lives, he said, his voice calm but intense. The fate of our galaxy, perhaps our entire universe, hangs in the balance. We cannot fail. As the diversionary attacks commenced, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Coalition forces struck John Doerr positions with precision and ferocity. The enemy, caught off guard by the coordinated assaults, scrambled to respond. Volkov watched the tactical display with satisfaction as John Doerr fleet movements indicated their forces were being drawn away from the galactic core. Captain Hawkins, you have your window. Godspeed. The strike force engaged their FTL drives, streaking towards the heart of the galaxy. But as they neared their destination, the ships began to shudder violently. Energy surges from the galactic core created a maelstrom of spatial distortions, playing havoc with their navigation systems. Hawkins gripped his command chair, barking orders to his crew. Disengage FTL. Switch to manual navigation. Sensors at maximum sensitivity. We'll have to thread the needle through this storm. As the strike force pushed deeper into the turbulent space surrounding the galactic core, Coalition forces across the galaxy continued their desperate struggle. On the desert planet, Captain Sarah Rogers and her team worked feverishly to fortify their position. The energy shield protecting the ancient pyramid hummed with power, but Rogers knew it was only a matter of time before the Jean d'Or found a way to breach it. Talon 2, I need those defense turrets online yesterday, she shouted into her comm, and someone get me a secure link to Coalition Command. We need to relay this data ASP. In the swirling atmosphere of the gas giant, Commander Jack Thompson and his team had finally located the central control hub of the planet-wide precursor installation. As they worked to decipher its intricate systems, Thompson's eyes widened in realization. Dr. Sato, are you seeing this? He asked, gesturing to the holographic display. This isn't just a defensive structure. It's a power generation facility on a scale we've never seen before. Sato nodded, her fingers dancing across the alien interface. If we can activate it, the energy output would be astronomical. We could power the entire coalition fleet, and then some. Thompson's mind raced with the implications. Get to work on bringing it online. I'll inform command. This could change everything. Deep beneath the surface of the frozen rogue planet, Major John Reeves and his unlikely allies, the defecting Jean d'Or scientists, made a startling discovery. The winding tunnels they had been exploring opened into a vast chamber filled with glowing data crystals. This is no mere outpost, the lead Jean d'Or scientist said, its multifaceted eyes reflecting the ethereal light. This is an archive, the collected knowledge of the precursors. As the Jean d'Or scientist began translating the data, Reeves felt a chill run down his spine. The information they were uncovering could rewrite their understanding of the universe itself. Back aboard the Nexus Prime, Captain Hawkins and his strike force finally emerged from the turbulent space surrounding the galactic core. But their relief was short-lived. Before them loomed a massive Jean d'Or battle station, its cloaking field dissipating to reveal a fortress dripping with weaponry. Hawkins's lips pursed as he assessed their situation. A frontal assault would be suicide, but they couldn't turn back now. Not when they were so close to the forge. All hands battle stations, he ordered, his mind already formulating a daring plan. Prepare the Void Ripper for immediate deployment. We're going to tear a hole in reality itself. As the strike force prepared for their most audacious maneuver yet, the fate of the galactic realm hung in the balance. Across the stars, coalition forces fought with desperate valor, knowing that their actions in these crucial moments could determine the future of all sentient life. The battle for the Forge was about to begin. The battle for the Forge was about to reach its climax. Execute Operation Voidbreaker, Hawkins commanded, his voice steady despite the tension thrumming through the bridge. The Nexus Prime's engines flared to life, propelling the ship towards the massive Jean d'Or battle station. Behind them, the rest of the strike force moved into formation, their weapon systems primed and ready. Void Ripper at maximum power, the science officer reported. Engaging in 3, 2, 1. A blinding flash erupted from the Nexus Prime, followed by a shockwave that rippled through space-time itself. The fabric of reality seemed to warp and twist around them, creating a maelstrom of distorted energy. Hawkins gripped his command chair as the ship shuddered violently. Status report. Void Ripper functioning as intended, sir, came the response. Local space-time destabilization at 87% and climbing. Jean d'Or defenses are fluctuating. Through the view screen, Hawkins watched as the battle station's energy shields flickered and wavered. Sections of the massive structure seemed to phase in and out of existence, caught in the grip of the temporal distortion. Now's our chance, Hawkins said, rising from his chair. Lieutenant Chun, you have the bridge. I'm leading the infiltration team personally. Minutes later, Hawkins and a select group of operatives were aboard a specially modified stealth shuttle, streaking towards the forge. The massive station loomed before them, its true scale becoming apparent as they approached. "Stay sharp," Hawkins warned as they navigated through the destabilized defense grid. "We don't know what kind of dash." His words were cut short as a swarm of sleek, metallic objects burst from concealed bays along the forge's outer hull. "Evasive maneuvers," Hawkins shouted, strapping himself into the co-pilot seat. "Those are precursor drones." The shuttle juked and weaved through the swarm, its stealth systems straining to maintain their cover. The drones, guided by ancient but formidable AI, matched their every move. As they played their deadly game of cat and mouse through the forge's outer structure, Hawkins couldn't help but marvel at the station's design. Massive spires and interconnected platforms stretched out in impossible configurations, defying conventional physics. "Sir, we've got an opening," the pilot called out. "I can get us to that docking port, but it's going to be tight." Hawkins nodded grimly. "Do it." The shuttle surged forward, threading the needle between two converging groups of drones. They scraped against the hull, alarms blaring as the shield strained to deflect the impacts. With a bone-jarring thud, the shuttle made contact with the docking port. Emergency systems engaged, sealing them against the vacuum of space. "We're in," Hawkins said, unstrapping himself and grabbing his gear. "Let's move before those drones find a way to follow us." As Hawkins and his team breached the forge, events across the galaxy continued to unfold at a breakneck pace. On the desert planet, Captain Sarah Rogers cursed as the ground beneath her feet trembled. The Jandor's new burrowing weapon was getting closer. "Talon 2, what's your status on those scanners?" She barked into her comm. "Almost there, Captain," came the reply. "The energy shield is interfering with our readings, but we've narrowed down the possible entry points." Rogers surveyed the fortified perimeter they'd established around the ancient pyramid. Her diverse team of aliens and humans stood ready, weapons primed. "All units, be prepared to engage subsurface targets," she ordered. "The moment we get a fix on that burrower, I want everything we've got thrown at it." The ground shook again, more violently this time. A cloud of dust erupted from the desert floor barely 50 meters from their position. "There!" Rogers shouted, pointing towards the disturbance. "Concentrate fire on that location." A barrage of energy weapons and high-explosive rounds converged on the spot, turning the sand to glass. For a moment, it seemed they had succeeded in stopping the threat. Then, with a sound like tearing metal, a massive drill bit erupted from the ground, followed by the armored bulk of the Jandor burrowing machine. Rogers's eyes widened as she took in the scale of the device. It was easily the size of a small starship, its surface filled with weapons. "Fall back to secondary positions," she ordered, already sprinting towards a pyramid. "We need to keep that thing away from the artifact at all costs." As Rogers and her team engaged in their desperate defense, Commander Jack Thompson faced a crisis of his own deep within the gas giant. The ancient power generation system hummed with energy, tapping into the planet's vast resources. But as the output increased, so did the environmental instability. "Dr. Sato, we need to modulate the power flow," Thompson shouted over the howling winds that tore through the control center. "The gravitational fluctuations are tearing this place apart." Sato's fingers flew over the alien controls, her brow furrowed in concentration. "I'm trying, Commander, but the system's fail-safes are fighting me. It's like it's designed to operate at full capacity or not at all." A violent tremor shook the facility, sending equipment crashing to the floor. Warning klaxons blared as atmospheric pressure alarms triggered throughout the structure. "We're out of time," Thompson said, making a snap decision. "Divert all power to the structural integrity fields. We need to ride out the storm and figure out a way to stabilize the system before it tears the planet apart." As Thompson and his team battled against the elements, Major John Reeves stared in awe at the holographic display before him. The schematics of the forge floated in the air, revealing secrets hidden for millennia. "This is incredible," the lead Jandor scientist said, its serpentine body coiled with excitement. "The Forge isn't just a space station. It's a reality engine." Reeves studied the intricate diagrams, his mind racing. "You're saying this thing can alter the fundamental laws of physics?" The scientist bobbed its head. "Within a localized area, yes. But the warnings here are clear. Misuse could lead to catastrophic failure of space-time itself." As the implications sank in, Reeves's calm crackled to life. "Major, this is Coalition Command. We need that data immediately. The situation at the Forge has escalated." Reeves exchanged glances with the Jandor scientists. "Understood, Command. Transmitting now. But you need to know, we might be dealing with something far more dangerous than we ever imagined." Aboard her flagship, Commodore Elena Volkov received the transmission from Reeves with growing concern. The tactical display before her showed the movements of the massive Jandor armada converging on the Forge. "Admiral Steele, what's your status?" she asked, opening a channel to the experimental fleet. "We're engaging the enemy now, Commodore." Steele's voice came through, punctuated by the sounds of distant explosions. "Our new tech is giving them fits, but there are just so many of them." Volkov's face hardened as she assessed the situation. Their diversionary attacks had worked, perhaps too well. Now the bulk of the Jandor fleet was bearing down on their most crucial operation. "Hold them off as long as you can, Admiral," she ordered. "We need to buy Captain Hawkins more time." As she closed the channel, Volkov turned to her communications officer. "Get me a direct line to Earth. I need to speak with Dr. Raven immediately." Across the vast distances of space, each group of coalition forces fought their own battles, unaware of how their individual struggles were about to converge. At the heart of it all, Captain Hawkins and his team pressed deeper into the impossible interior of the Forge, drawing ever closer to the ancient power that could reshape the fate of humanity and all alien species. Life, as they pressed deeper into the station's labyrinthine corridors, Hawkins and his team found themselves face to face with a series of shimmering holographic projections that sprang to life around them. "What in the—" Hawkins breathed, his hand instinctively reaching for his weapon. The projections coalesced into a swirling tapestry of images and alien script. As the team watched, transfixed, the holograms began to tell a story, the history of the precursors and the true purpose of the Forge. "It's some kind of historical record," Lieutenant Kirichin said, her eyes darting from one image to the next. "Look, it's showing the precursor civilization at its height." The images shifted, depicting a universe-spanning empire of unimaginable technological advancement. But then, darkness began to creep in at the edges of the holographic display. "The entropy wave," Hawkins muttered, recognizing the phenomenon from the fragmented data they'd uncovered throughout their campaign. So this is what they were running from. The projections showed the precursor's desperate battle against the encroaching wave of nothingness that threatened to unravel the very fabric of reality. The Forge materialized before their eyes, a last-ditch effort to halt the entropy wave's inexorable advance. As the final images faded, showing the precursors activating the Forge and then vanishing from the historical record, Hawkins's comm unit crackled to life. "Captain Hawkins, this is Commodore Volkov. Do you read me?" The transmission was garbled but urgent. "Hawkins here. Go ahead, Commodore. The Jandor Armada has broken through our defensive line. They're en route to your position. Whatever you're going to do in there, you need to do it fast." Hawkins's eyes hardened. "Understood, Commodore. We're on it." He turned to his team, their faces a mix of commitment and apprehension. "We need to find the control nexus. Now, Chun, take Martinez and head down that corridor. Gonzalez, you're with me. Move out." As the team split up, racing through the Forge's impossible geometry, Events across the galaxy continued to unfold at a breakneck pace. On the desert planet, Captain Sarah Rogers crouched behind a makeshift barricade, her eyes scanning the horizon. The massive Jandor burrowing machine lay in smoldering ruins, felled by the ancient artifact's activated defenses. But the victory had come at a cost. Status report. Rogers called out to her mixed squad of humans and aliens. A Krax 11 warrior, its chitinous exoskeleton gleaming in the harsh sunlight, clicked its mandibles before responding. All electronic equipment within a 50-kilometer radius is non-functional, Captain. The electromagnetic pulse from the artifact's discharge was substantial. Rogers grimaced. They'd taken out the immediate threat, but now they were sitting ducks. In the distance, she could see dust clouds rising, the telltale sign of approaching Jandor ground forces. "All right, listen up," she shouted, her voice carrying across their hastily fortified position. "We've got hostiles incoming and no fancy tech to back us up. I want all conventional weapons distributed and every able body on the perimeter. We hold this position at all costs." As her team scrambled to prepare their defenses, Rogers cast a glance at the looming pyramid behind them. Whatever secrets it held, they were worth dying for. She just hoped it wouldn't come to that. Deep within the churning atmosphere of the gas giant, Commander Jack Thompson wiped sweat from his brow as he input another series of calculations into the alien control panel. The facility shuddered around him, buffeted by storms of unimaginable intensity. "Commander," Dr. Sato called out, her voice barely audible over the howling winds. "I think I've found a pattern in the energy fluctuations." Thompson made his way to her station, gripping handholds as he went. "Show me." Sato's fingers flew across the holographic display, highlighting a series of pulsing energy signatures. "If we can synchronize the power generation system with these natural energy flows, we might be able to stabilize the entire planet." Thompson nodded, his mind racing. "Do it. Divert all available power to the synchronization process." As Sato input the commands, the facility systems hummed to life. For a moment, nothing seemed to change. Then, gradually, the violent shaking began to subside. The howling of the wind outside diminished to a low roar. Thompson let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. "It's working. My God, it's actually working." As the storms calmed and the gravitational disturbances settled, new information began flooding their screens. Thompson's eyes widened as he realized what he was seeing. "These aren't just power readings," he muttered. "They're activation sequences for defense systems." Sato looked up from her station, her face a mix of excitement and trepidation. "Defense systems? Where?" Thompson gestured at the holographic display, which now showed a map of nearby star systems. Dozens of points of light were blinking into existence. Everywhere. We just turned on an entire network of precursor defenses. On the frozen surface of the rogue planet, Major John Reeves huddled with his unlikely allies, the defecting Jandor scientists, as they pored over the newly decrypted data from the precursor archive. "This is incredible," the lead Jandor scientist said, its multifaceted eyes reflecting the glow of the data crystals. "The Forge isn't an isolated installation. It's the linchpin in a galaxy-wide network." Reeves leaned in, studying the intricate diagrams floating before them. "You're saying all these artifacts we've been fighting over, they're all connected?" The scientist bobbed its head in affirmation. "More than that, they're power amplifiers for the Forge. If activated in the correct sequence, they could exponentially increase its reality-altering capabilities." As the implications sank in, Reeves's calm unit chirped. He answered, his voice tense. "Reeves here. Major, this is Coalition Command. We need that data immediately. The situation at the Forge has escalated beyond our worst projections." Reeves exchanged glances with the Jandor scientists. "Understood, Command. Transmitting now. But there's more. We may have found a way to end this war once and for all. Back aboard the Forge, Captain Hawkins and his team finally located the central control nexus. The vast chamber hummed with latent energy, its walls lined with pulsing conduits and holographic interfaces. Spread out, Hawkins ordered. We need to figure out how to dash. His words were cut short by the sound of weapons fire. A group of Jandor elite soldiers burst into the chamber, their energy weapons blazing. Take cover, Hawkins shouted, diving behind a control panel as bolts of searing plasma streaked past. The air filled with the acrid smell of ozone as both sides exchanged fire. Hawkins's team, caught off guard but highly trained, quickly regrouped and began to push back against the Jandor assault. Lieutenant Chun, her face set in relentless drive, worked her way around the chamber's perimeter, picking off Jandor soldiers with precise shots from her rifle. Gonzalez provided covering fire, his heavy weapon spewing a torrent of high-energy projectiles that forced the enemy into defensive positions. As the fierce close-quarters battle raged, Hawkins noticed something strange. The Nexus was responding to the conflict, its systems powering up in response to the energy weapons fire. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing a three-dimensional map of the galaxy with pulsing points of light. The artifacts, Hawkins realized, shouting to be heard over the din of battle. They're all connected. We need to activate them now. He opened a channel on his comm unit, praying it would cut through the interference. Rogers, Thompson, Reeves. If you can hear me, activate your artifacts immediately. It's now or never. As the battle for control of the Nexus intensified, Hawkins couldn't help but feel that they were standing at a pivotal moment in history. The next few minutes would determine not just the outcome of the war, but the very shape of reality itself. The Nexus chamber erupted into chaos as plasma bolts and energy beams crisscrossed the air. Hawkins ducked behind a control panel, his mind racing. The holographic displays, pulsing with galactic coordinates, gave him an idea. "Chun, cover me," he shouted, gesturing towards a nearby interface. Lieutenant Chun nodded, her face set with grit as she laid down, suppressing fire. Hawkins sprinted across the open space, diving into a roll and coming up at the control panel. His fingers flew across the alien interface, drawing on every scrap of knowledge he gleaned about precursor technology. Suddenly, the chamber shuddered. A series of low-frequency pulses resonated through the structure, and new holographic barriers sprang to life, separating the human team from their Jandor attackers. "What did you do, Captain?" Gonzalez asked, his heavy weapon still trained on the disoriented Jandor soldiers. "Activated some internal defenses," Hawkins replied, his eyes scanning the new information flooding the displays. "But that's not all. Look!" The team gathered around, watching as points of light across the galactic map began to pulse in sync with the Forge. Hawkins's comm crackled to life, and Rogers's voice came through, punctuated by the sound of distant explosions. "Hawkins, this is Rogers. The artifact is active. I repeat, the artifact is active." Before Hawkins could respond, Thompson's voice cut in. "Same here, Captain. We've got power surges across multiple star systems. Whatever you're doing up there, it's working." A new energy signature appeared on the map, originating from the rogue planet. Reeves's transmission followed seconds later. "Hawkins, we've cracked it. The archive is transmitting data directly to your location. You should be receiving it now." As if on cue, the Nexus chamber systems began processing an influx of new information. Hawkins watched in awe as the holographic displays reconfigured themselves, revealing the true nature of the Forge and its connected artifacts. Outside the station, Admiral Steele's fleet continued its desperate defense against the Jandor Armada. Steele stood on the bridge of his flagship, surveying the tactical hologram with a grim expression. "Sir," his tactical officer called out, Enemy formations are breaking up. Some of their ships appear to be hesitating. Steele's eyes narrowed. Patch me through to all coalition channels. As the communication link established, Steele's voice rang out across the battle-worn fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Steele. Deploy the Nexus Protocol. I repeat, deploy the Nexus Protocol. Across the Coalition fleet, newly installed precursor-derived systems hummed to life. Waves of gravitic distortion rippled out, catching the Jean d'Or ships in their wake. The enemy fleet's carefully coordinated formations began to break apart, ships colliding with one another as their navigational systems failed. Back in the Nexus chamber, Hawkins and his team worked feverishly to interpret the flood of new data. The true purpose of the Forge revealed itself. Not a weapon of mass destruction, but a tool of creation and guidance. It's a cosmic evolutionary engine, Hawkins breathed, his mind turning at the implications. The precursors built it to shepherd life through the galaxy, to protect against threats like the entropy wave. Chen looked up from her console, her eyes wide. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Earth. It's Dr. Raven. Raven's face appeared on a nearby holoscreen, his expression a mix of excitement and concern. Captain Hawkins, I hope you're receiving this. Our deep cover operative reports growing dissent among the Jean d'Or ranks. We've initiated a targeted disinformation campaign, and it's working. You need to act now, while their command structure is in disarray. Hawkins nodded, his mind racing with possibilities. Understood, Doctor. We'll make it count. As the team continued to work, the chamber filled with a soft, pulsing light. The energy signatures from the desert planet, gas giant, and rogue planet converged on the Forge, each adding its unique frequency to the growing symphony of power. Hawkins stood at the central control interface, his hand hovering over the activation sequence. The weight of the moment pressed down on him, the fate of billions hanging in the balance. With a deep breath, he began the final initialization process. The Forge thrummed with energy, its ancient systems fully awakening for the first time in eons. As the power built to a crescendo, Hawkins and his team braced themselves for whatever would come next, knowing that the next few moments would reshape the course of galactic history. The energy coursing through the Forge reached a fever pitch, and Hawkins felt the immense power at his fingertips. Systems fully operational, Chen reported, her voice tight with anticipation. We're ready, Captain. Hawkins nodded, his mind racing as he absorbed the flood of information from the precursor interface. The complexity of the system was staggering, but he approached it with the same methodical precision he'd honed during his survival training on Earth. All right, team, he said, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. We need to recalibrate the Forge to target specific Jean d'Or vulnerabilities. Chun, focus on their biological weaknesses. Gonzalez, work on their tech. As his team set to work, Hawkins opened a communication channel to the coalition forces spread across different worlds. Rogers, Thompson, Reeves, we need your input. The Forge requires consensus from multiple species to fully activate its reality-altering capabilities. Copy that, Hawkins. Rogers' voice crackled through, punctuated by the sound of distant explosions. We're holding our position on the desert planet, but barely. What do you need from us? Data on Jean d'Or physiology and technology, Hawkins replied. Anything you've observed during your encounters. As Rogers began transmitting her observations, Thompson's voice cut in. Hawkins, we've managed to tap into the gas giant's core. I'm channeling an unprecedented amount of energy your way. Be ready for a significant power boost. The chamber hummed with increased intensity as Thompson's energy surge reached the Forge. Holographic displays flickered and expanded, revealing new depths of the station's capabilities. Reeves' transmission came through next. Captain, we've made a critical discovery in the Precursor Archive. The Forge has a built-in failsafe to prevent misuse. It requires input from multiple species before full activation. Hawkins nodded, though Reeves couldn't see him. Understood. We're initiating that process now. Stand by for further instructions. As the team worked feverishly to recalibrate the forge, Admiral Steele's voice suddenly boomed through the communication channel. Hawkins, this is Steele. We've got a situation up here. A significant portion of the Jean d'Or fleet has broken away from the main armada. They're declaring their intention to defect. Hawkins' eyes widened. Defect? What's their status? They're under the command of an officer named Krovos, Steele replied. I'm integrating them into our defensive formation now. This could be the break we need. The news of the Jean d'Or defection added a new layer of complexity to their task. Hawkins quickly relayed the information to his team, who adjusted their calculations to account for the possibility of friendly Jean d'Or forces. Chen, how are we looking on those biological recalibrations? Hawkins asked, his fingers flying across the alien interface. Almost there, Captain, Chen replied, her brow furrowed in concentration. I've isolated several key vulnerabilities in Jean d'Or physiology. If we target these, we can neutralize their combat effectiveness without causing permanent harm. Gonzalez chimed in from his station. I've got something similar for their tech. Sir, we can disrupt their weapons and shields without completely destroying their ships. Hawkins nodded approvingly. Excellent work, both of you. Now we need to synchronize these changes with the input from our off-site teams. He opened the communication channel once more. Rogers, Thompson, Reeves, we're ready to begin the final activation sequence. I need each of you to confirm your readiness and provide your consensus for the Forge's activation. One by one, the team leaders confirmed their readiness. As each voice added their consensus, the Forge's systems pulsed with increasing power. The chamber filled with a soft, ethereal light that seemed to bend and twist the very fabric of reality around them. Hawkins took a deep breath, his hand hovering over the final activation sequence. This is it, everyone. Initiating reality alteration now. He pressed the sequence, and the forge surged with unimaginable power. The energy rippled outward in concentric waves, spreading across the battlefield and beyond. Hawkins and his team watched in awe as the effects of their carefully calibrated changes began to manifest. On the tactical displays, they saw Jean d'Or ships suddenly lose power, their weapons and shields flickering and failing. Reports flooded in from all fronts. The Jean d'Or ground forces on the desert planet stumbling and disoriented, their siege engines grinding to a halt. The Loyalist fleet in orbit around the Forge found themselves outmaneuvered and outgunned by the combined human Jean d'Or defector force. It's working, Chim breathed, her eyes wide as she monitored the incoming data. The Jean d'Or forces are falling back on all fronts. Hawkins allowed himself a moment of relief, but he knew their task was a long way to go. The power of the Forge thrummed around them, a constant reminder of the responsibility they now held. As the tide of battle turned decisively in their favor, Hawkins turned to his team, his expression grave. We've won this battle, he said. But now we face an even greater challenge. We need to decide how to proceed with this power, how to use it responsibly. He looked at each of his team members in turn. The future of the galaxy rests in our hands. As the implications of their actions began to sink in, Hawkins opened a channel to Admiral Steele. Admiral, we've achieved our primary objective. The Jean d'Or threat has been neutralized. What's our next move? Steele's voice came through, tinged with a mix of relief and uncertainty. Good work, Captain. We're securing the area and beginning negotiations with the Jean d'Or defectors. But we've got a lot of questions to answer, both from our own people and from the galactic community at large. Hawkins nodded, his mind already racing with the possibilities and pitfalls that lay ahead. Understood, Admiral. We'll prepare a full report on the Forge's capabilities and limitations. In the meantime, we need to establish protocols for its use and security. As Hawkins and his team began the monumental task of documenting and securing the forge, the reality of their new situation settled over them. They had saved the galaxy from the Jandor threat, but in doing so, they had unleashed a power that could reshape the very fabric of reality. The true test of humanity's purpose and wisdom was just beginning. The energy coursing through the forge reached its zenith, and Hawkins felt the immense power surge through the station systems. The holographic displays flickered and expanded, revealing a real-time view of the battlefield. Hawkins watched in awe as the effects of their carefully calibrated changes began to manifest across the stars. Energy wave propagating, Jim reported, her eyes fixed on the rapidly updating data streams. Impact in 3, 2, 1. A ripple of distortion spread outward from the forge, enveloping the Jandor fleet in its wake. On the tactical displays, Hawkins saw enemy ships suddenly lose power, their weapons and shields flickering and failing. "It's working," Gonzalez breathed, his fingers flying over his console as he monitored the effects on Jandor technology. "Their ships are dead in space." Reports flooded in from all fronts. Roger's voice crackled through the comms, punctuated by the sounds of battle. "Hawkins, the Jandor ground forces are in disarray. Their siege engines just stopped. We're pushing them back." Thompson's transmission followed seconds later, energy levels spiking across the artifact network. "I'm working to stabilize the flow. Stand by." As the situation unfolded, Admiral Steele's voice boomed through the communication channel. "Hawkins, this is Steele. The Jandor fleet is breaking apart. A significant portion has declared their intention to defect. They're under the command of an officer named Krelvas." Hawkins' mind raced, quickly assessing the new tactical landscape. "Copy that, Admiral. Integrate them into our defensive formation. We need all the firepower we can get." He turned to his team, his expression grave but determined. "Chen Gonzalez, keep monitoring the forge's effects. Make sure we're not causing any unintended damage. We want to neutralize the threat, not annihilate an entire species." As they worked, Reeves' urgent transmission cut through the din. "Captain, we've made a critical discovery. The forge's effects aren't permanent. They'll fade over time. We need a long-term solution." Hawkins nodded, absorbing the new information. "Understood, Major. We'll factor that into our plans. Keep digging through that archive. We need every advantage we can get." Outside the forge, Admiral Steele took full advantage of the Jandor's sudden vulnerability. His voice rang out across the Coalition fleet, crisp and authoritative. "All ships, this is Admiral Steele. The enemy is compromised. Press the attack, but watch your fire. We have friendlies in the mix now." The space around the forge erupted into chaos as the Coalition forces, bolstered by the defecting Jandor ships, engaged the remaining Loyalist fleet. Steele's tactical acumen shone as he coordinated the assault, outmaneuvering the disorganized enemy at every turn. On the desert planet, Captain Rogers led her mixed squad of humans and aliens in a daring counteroffensive. They charged across the barren landscape, their weapons trained on the stunned Jandor ground forces. "Push forward," Rogers shouted, her voice carrying over the din of battle. "Secure that perimeter." As the Coalition forces pressed their advantage across multiple fronts, Hawkins received an urgent communication from Earth. Dr. Raven's face appeared on a holoscreen, his expression a mix of excitement and concern. "Captain, we're receiving reports of widespread confusion among the Jandor civilian population," Raven reported. "We need to act fast to prevent a humanitarian crisis. I'm proposing a joint human-alien task force to provide aid and support." Hawkins nodded, his mind already racing with the implications. "Good thinking, Doctor. We'll need to coordinate with Admiral Steele and our new Jandor allies. This could be our chance to build lasting peace." As the immediate threat of the Jandor invasion subsided, New challenges began to emerge. Reports streamed in of opportunistic pirate fleets probing the defenses of newly liberated systems. Pockets of fanatical Jean-D'Or resistance established fortified positions on several key worlds. Hawkins opened a channel to Admiral Steele. "Admiral, we've got new threats emerging. Pirate activity is on the rise, and we've got Jean-D'Or holdouts digging in. What's our next move?" Steele's voice came through, tinged with fatigue but resolute. "We'll need to spread our forces thin to cover all these fronts, Hawkins. I'm working on plans for precision strikes against the holdouts. As for the pirates, we'll need to establish a rapid response force." As they discussed strategy, Chen's voice cut through the conversation. "Captain, I'm detecting subtle changes in Jean-D'Or physiology. It seems the Forge's effects have dampened their aggressive tendencies. This could be significant." Hawkins absorbed this new information, his mind racing with possibilities. This could be the key to long-term peace. But we need to tread carefully. We can't play God with an entire species. He turned to his team, his expression grave. "We stand at a crossroads. The power of the Forge is both a gift and a burden. We need to decide our next steps carefully. The eyes of the galaxy are upon us." As Hawkins and his team grappled with the weight of their newfound power and responsibility, the universe around them continued to shift and change. The aftermath of their victory over the Jean-D'Or had set in motion events that would reshape the future of interstellar civilization. And at the center of it all stood humanity, poised to take its place among the stars. As the implications of their actions with the Forge settled over the team, Hawkins's attention was drawn to a flurry of incoming reports. His brow furrowed as he scanned the data streaming across his console. "Chen, are you seeing this?" he called out, his voice tight with concern. The science officer nodded, her fingers flying over her controls. "Affirmative, Captain. The effects of our alteration seem to be spreading." Hawkins opened a channel to Admiral Steele. "Admiral, we've got a situation. The reality changes are affecting more than just Jean-D'Or tech. We're seeing impacts on some of our advanced systems as well." Steele's voice crackled through the comm, tinged with static. "Understood, Hawkins. What's your assessment?" "We need to know the full extent of these changes," Hawkins replied. He turned to his team. "Initiate a galaxy-wide scan. Use the Forge's sensors at maximum capacity. We need to map out every affected system." As the scan began, the holographic display above the central console erupted into a sea of blinking lights. Each point represented an affected system, spreading out in concentric waves from the Forge. "Captain," Gonzalez called out, his voice tense, "I'm detecting anomalies in the energy signatures of several coalition vessels. Their propulsion systems are fluctuating." Hawkins nodded grimly. "Relay that information to Admiral Steele immediately. We need to get those ships to safe harbor for assessment and potential recalibration." The comm channel crackled to life again, this time with Captain Rogers' voice cutting through. "Hawkins, this is Rogers. You're not going to believe this, but these Jean-D'Or siege engines, they're adapting. Our engineers are having a field day repurposing them for our own use." "That's good news, Sarah," Hawkins replied. "We're going to need every advantage we can get. Keep me posted on your progress." As Rogers signed off, another transmission came through, this time from Commander Thompson. "Captain, we've got a situation here in the gas giant. The artifact network. It's waking up." Hawkins felt a chill run down his spine. "Waking up? What do you mean, Jack?" "The Forge's activation seems to have triggered dormant systems throughout the network," Thompson explained, his voice filled with a mix of excitement and trepidation. "I'm running controlled power surges to map it out, but Hawkins, this thing is huge. It spans the entire galaxy." Before Hawkins could respond, Major Reeves's voice cut in. "Captain, this is Reeves. We've made a discovery in the Precursor Archive. You're going to want to hear this." Hawkins took a deep breath, steeling himself. "Go ahead, Major." "Sir, the Precursors. They were preparing for something. Some kind of cosmic anomaly capable of consuming entire star systems. The Forge. It might be our only defense against it." The weight of this revelation settled over the command center like a heavy blanket. Hawkins looked at his team, seeing the same mix of fear and tenacity reflected in their eyes. "All right, people," he said, his voice steady. "We've got work to do. Chun, continue monitoring the galaxy-wide scan. Gonzalez, coordinate with Admiral Steele on securing affected coalition ships. I want constant updates from Rogers, Thompson, and Reeves." As his team sprang into action, Hawkins turned his attention back to the Forge's controls. The power thrumming through the station seemed to resonate with a new purpose, a new urgency. In orbit around Earth, Dr. Raven watched as the first wave of relief ships departed for Jandor space. The vessels, crewed by a diverse mix of humans and aliens, represented a new chapter in galactic cooperation. Meanwhile, in the far reaches of known space, a coalition patrol ship encountered something unexpected. The vessel's sensors picked up an unknown energy signature, unlike anything they had encountered before. As the patrol ship moved to investigate, a sleek, dark vessel emerged from the void. Its hull seemed to absorb light, making it difficult to track visually. The coalition ship's captain opened a comm channel. "Unidentified vessel. This is the coalition ship Horizon. Please identify yourself and state your intentions." There was a moment of tense silence before a response came through, the voice unlike any they had heard before. "We are the Void Walkers. Your reality-altering weapon does not affect us. We have come to claim what is ours." The Horizon's captain barely had time to sound the alarm before the Void Walker ship opened fire, its weapons tearing through the coalition vessel's shields as if they weren't there. As the battle raged, the signal raced across space, carrying news of this new threat to the Forge and the heart of coalition space. The galaxy, still reeling from the defeat of the Jandor, found itself facing a new and terrifying enemy. In the Forge's command center, Hawkins received the distress call. His expression hardened as he realized the magnitude of the challenge ahead. The power to reshape reality was in their hands, but it seemed the universe still had surprises in store. The true test of humanity's place among the stars was just beginning. The true test of humanity's place among the stars was just unfolding. As Hawkins processed the implications of this new threat, his console lit up with an incoming transmission. Dr. Marcus Raven's face appeared on the screen, his expression grave. "Captain, we have a situation," Raven said, his voice tense. "Several of our relief ships have gone missing in the Crimson Nebula. We've lost all contact." Hawkins frowned, his mind already racing through potential scenarios. "How many ships, Doctor?" "5, Captain. They were part of our humanitarian mission to the Jandor worlds." Before Hawkins could respond, Admiral Steele's voice cut in over the comm channel. "I've heard the report, Hawkins. I'm diverting a portion of the fleet to investigate. Commander Elena Volkov will lead the search and rescue operation." "Understood, Admiral," Hawkins replied. "We'll provide any support we can from the Forge." As the transmission ended, Hawkins turned to his team. "Chun, I need you to recalibrate our long-range sensors. See if we can penetrate the Crimson Nebula's interference." Chun nodded, her fingers flying over her console. "On it, Captain." Hawkins was about to issue more orders when another alert sounded. This time, it was Captain Sarah Rogers, her face streaked with dirt and sweat. "Hawkins, we've got a situation here," Rogers said, her voice crackling with static. "We've found a massive precursor installation near the galactic core. It's unlike anything we've ever seen." The holographic display flickered to life, showing a sprawling complex spanning several planets. Hawkins leaned in, his eyes widening at the scale of the discovery. "What's your status, Sarah?" he asked. Rogers grimaced. "Not good. We activated some kind of defense system. Autonomous drones forced us to retreat. We're holed up on a nearby moon, but we won't be able to hold out forever." Hawkins nodded grimly. "Understood. We'll dispatch reinforcements as soon as we can. Hold your position and—" His words were cut off by another incoming transmission. This time, it was Major John Reeves, his face pale with urgency. "Captain, we've made a breakthrough in the Precursor Archive," Reeves said, his voice tight. "We've identified the cosmic anomaly the precursors were preparing for. We're calling it the Void Storm." Hawkins felt a chill run down his spine. "What exactly are we dealing with, Major?" "It's a massive region of space where the laws of physics break down," Reeves explained. "According to our calculations, it will reach Coalition space within 5 years if we don't stop it." The command center fell silent as the weight of this revelation settled over them. Hawkins took a deep breath, his mind racing to process the multiple crises unfolding simultaneously. "All right," he said, his voice steady. "We need to tackle these issues one at a time. Chun, start running simulations on the Forge's capabilities against this void storm. Gonzalez, coordinate with Admiral Steele on the Crimson Nebula search and rescue. I want constant updates on Captain Rogers' situation." As his team sprang into action, Hawkins turned his attention back to the holographic display. The galaxy map now showed multiple crisis points. The missing ships in the Crimson Nebula, Rogers' team trapped near the galactic core, and the looming threat of the Void Storm. Just then, Commander Jack Thompson's voice came through the comm. "Captain, I think I've found a solution to our energy regulation problem. I've discovered a method to create a network of energy sinks throughout the galaxy. It should help stabilize the precursor systems." Hawkins nodded, a glimmer of hope cutting through the mounting tension. "Good work, Jack. Implement it immediately, starting with the nearest star systems." As Thompson signed off, another alert sounded. This time, it was Admiral Steele, his face grim. "Hawkins, the Void Walkers have launched coordinated attacks on our outposts along the fringes of known space," Steele reported. "Operation Sentinel is holding for now, but we've got a major battle brewing in the Arcturus system." Hawkins's mind raced, weighing their options. They needed more information about these Void Walkers and fast. "Admiral, I'm dispatching a covert team to infiltrate a captured Void Walker vessel," Hawkins said. "Lieutenant Commander Nakamura will lead the operation." Steele nodded approvingly. "Good thinking, Hawkins. Keep me posted on their findings." As the transmission ended, Hawkins turned to his team. The command center was a flurry of activity, with data streams and holographic displays flickering all around them. "Listen up, everyone," Hawkins said, his voice cutting through the noise. "We're facing multiple crises on an unprecedented scale, but we've got the best minds in the galaxy working on solutions. Chun, I want those Void Storm simulations as soon as possible. Gonzalez, keep me updated on the Crimson Nebula situation. And someone get me a direct line to Captain Rogers." As his team acknowledged their orders, Hawkins turned back to the central console. He input a series of commands, bringing up a new holographic display. It showed a prototype design for what he was calling a reality anchor. A device that could potentially stabilize local space-time against both Void Walker technology and the approaching Void Storm. Hawkins studied the design, his mind racing with possibilities and potential pitfalls. It was a radical plan, one that would require precise coordination between the Forge and the network of precursor artifacts spread throughout the galaxy. But with the fate of the stars hanging in the balance, they had to take risks. As he worked, reports continued to flood in from across Coalition space. Commander Volkov's task force was entering the Crimson Nebula, their specially modified ships pushing through the intense radiation and gravitational anomalies. Captain Rogers and her team were preparing for a counterattack against the precursor defense drones. And aboard the Forge, the first reality anchor was taking shape, its complex structure growing more defined with each passing moment. Hawkins looked up from his console, taking in the scene around him. His team worked tirelessly, their faces set with purpose as they tackled the monumental challenges before them. Outside the viewport, the vast expanse of space stretched out, filled with both promise and peril. The captain allowed himself a moment to appreciate the enormity of their situation. They stood at a crossroads, facing threats that could reshape the very fabric of reality. But they also had opportunities, chances to unlock the secrets of the precursors, to forge new alliances and to secure humanity's place among the stars. With a deep breath, Hawkins turned back to his work. The galaxy was counting on them, and there was no time to waste. Hawkins turned his attention back to the holographic display, studying the intricate design of the reality anchor. As he fine-tuned the final parameters, a surge of energy pulsed through the forge, signaling the completion of the prototype. "Reality anchor construction complete, Captain," Chin reported, her voice filled with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Hawkins nodded, his eyes fixed on the massive spherical device now visible through the viewport. "Prepare for deployment to the Arcturus system. Admiral Steele needs all the help he can get against those Void Walkers." As the reality anchor detached from the forge and began its journey to Arcturus, Hawkins received an incoming transmission from Admiral Steele. "Hawkins, we're ready to integrate your device into our defense grid," Steele said, his face etched with purpose. "Let's hope this works." The captain watched as the reality anchor arrived in the Arcturus system, its exotic energy emitters jam-packed with potential. Coalition engineers worked tirelessly, connecting the device to existing military installations. A web of reinforced space-time began to form around key strategic points. Suddenly, alerts blared across the command center. "Void Walker ships entering the system, sir," Gonzalez shouted. Hawkins leaned forward, his heart racing as he watched the enemy vessels approach the newly established defense perimeter. As they crossed into the reality anchor's area of influence, the effects were immediate and dramatic. The Void Walker ships began to drift erratically, their previously impervious shields flickering and failing. Admiral Steele's voice crackled over the comm. "It's working, Hawkins. Their defenses are down. All ships, engage." The skies above Arcturus erupted in a dazzling display of energy weapons, fire, and nuclear detonations. Coalition ships, their weapons now effective against the vulnerable enemy vessels, tore into the Void Walker fleet with renewed vigor. Hawkins allowed himself a moment of satisfaction before turning his attention to the other crises unfolding across the galaxy. "Chin, what's the status of Commander Volkov's mission in the Crimson Nebula?" Chen's fingers flew across her console as she brought up the relevant data. "The task force has penetrated deep into the nebula, so they've detected a distress signal and are investigating." In the swirling chaos of the Crimson Nebula, Commander Elena Volkov stood on the bridge of the CNS Intrepid, her eyes scanning the sensor readouts. The ship's specialized shielding groaned under the strain of the intense radiation and gravitational anomalies. "Signal source located, Commander," her tactical officer reported. "It's coming from an asteroid field nearby." Volkov nodded grimly. "Take us in, but be cautious. This nebula's already claimed too many ships." As they approached, the wreckage of several coalition vessels came into view, their hulls twisted and warped by the nebula's strange properties. Volkov's eyes hardened at the sight. "Launch rescue shuttles. Let's get those survivors out of there." The heavily shielded shuttles deployed, navigating the treacherous asteroid field to reach the stasis pods containing the survivors. As the rescue operation progressed, Volkov's sensor officer called out urgently, Multiple unidentified objects approaching fast from deeper in the nebula. Commander! Volkov's mind raced, weighing her options. Recall the shuttles. Prepare for emergency jump on my mark. Back in the Galactic Core region, Captain Sarah Rogers led her team through the corridors of the massive precursor installation. The air was thick with the acrid smell of fried circuitry as disabled and malfunctioning drones littered their path. "Keep pushing forward," Rogers ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. "We need to reach the central chamber." As they fought their way deeper into the complex, the team emerged into a vast, cavernous space. Rogers's eyes widened as she took in the sight before her. A colossal structure dominated the chamber, dwarfing even the forge in its scale and complexity. "My God," she breathed, activating her comm link. "Hawkins, are you seeing this?" On the forge, Hawkins stared at the feed from Rogers's team, his legs shaking at the implications of their discovery. "A greater forge," he murmured. "This could be the key to stopping the Void Storm." As Hawkins contemplated the potential of this new discovery, alerts sounded across the command center. Chen's voice cut through the noise. "Captain, we're detecting widespread activation of precursor installations throughout the sector." Hawkins turned to see the galactic map light up with new energy signatures. The awakening of these long-dormant systems sent ripples of both excitement and concern through the coalition forces. "Sir," Gonzalez interjected, "we're receiving a priority transmission from Lieutenant Commander Nakamura's infiltration team." Nakamura's face appeared on the main screen, her expression grave. "Captain, we've made a critical discovery. The Void Walkers. They're not from our galaxy. We've found star charts indicating they're scouts for a much larger invasion force." The weight of this revelation settled over the command center like a heavy shroud. Hawkins took a deep breath, his mind already racing to process the implications and formulate a response. "Thank you, Commander," he said, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "Get your team out of there safely. We'll need every piece of intel you've gathered." As Nakamura's transmission ended, Hawkins turned to address his team. The command center buzzed with activity, each officer working furiously to manage the multiple crises unfolding across the galaxy. "Listen up," Hawkins called out, his voice cutting through the noise. "We're facing threats on an unprecedented scale, but we've also got opportunities we couldn't have imagined. Chen, I want a full analysis of the Greater Forge data from Rogers's team. Gonzalez, coordinate with Admiral Steele on expanding our reality anchor network." As his team acknowledged their orders, Hawkins turned back to the central holographic display. The galaxy map now showed a complex web of activity. The battle at Arcturus, Volkov's rescue mission in the Crimson Nebula, Rogers's expedition in the Galactic Core, and the newly awakened precursor installations scattered across known space. Hawkins's eyes narrowed as he studied the map, his mind working to piece together a strategy that could address these multiple fronts simultaneously. The fate of not just humanity, but all sentient life in the galaxy, hung in the balance. With the Void Walker's true nature revealed, and the Void Storm still approaching, the stakes had never been higher. As alerts continued to flood in from across Coalition space, Hawkins steeled himself for the challenges ahead. The battle for the galaxy's future was entering a new, more dangerous phase, and he knew that every decision he made from this point forward would shape the course of history. History. The captain's fingers flew across the holographic interface, initiating a secure transmission to Captain Sarah Rogers' team in the Galactic Core. "Rogers, this is Hawkins. That greater forge you've discovered could be our ace in the hole. I need you to secure that installation at all costs. Establish a defensive perimeter and prepare for potential hostiles. We can't risk losing this asset." Rogers's face appeared on the screen, her expression determined. "Understood. Sir, we're already on it." In the vast chamber housing the greater forge, Rogers barked orders to her team. Delta Squad, set up energy shields around the perimeter. Beta, salvage what you can from those disabled drones and get some defense turrets online. Move it, people. The chamber buzzed with activity as coalition forces worked to fortify their position. Engineers repurposed parts from fallen precursor drones, cobbling together a network of automated defense turrets. Shimmering energy barriers sprang to life, encasing the greater forge in a protective cocoon. As her team secured the area, Rogers approached a group of coalition scientists who were already scanning the colossal structure. "What can you tell me about this thing?" she asked, her eyes roving over the intricate patterns etched into the forge's surface. Dr. Eliza Chun, the lead xenotechnologist, looked up from her readings. "It's incredible, Captain. The energy output alone is off the charts. We're detecting systems that could potentially manipulate space-time on a galactic scale, if we can figure out how to control it." Rogers nodded, her mind racing with the possibilities. "Keep at it, Doctor. We need to unlock its secrets before our enemies do." Across the galaxy, in the Arcturus system, the battle against the Void Walkers raged on. Admiral Marcus Steele stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching as the reality anchor continued to disrupt the enemy's defenses. "All squadrons, this is Admiral Steele," he announced over the fleet-wide comm. "Our new weapons are effective. Push forward and take out those weakened ships. Show these invaders what happens when they mess with humanity." Swarms of coalition fighters, newly equipped with reverse-engineered precursor weaponry, streaked across space. Their energy weapons punched through the flickering shields of Void Walker vessels, leaving trails of destruction in their wake. Steele watched with grim satisfaction as the tide of battle turned in their favor. But his victory was short-lived as a priority transmission came through from Lieutenant Commander Aiko Nakamura. "Admiral, we've completed our data extraction," Nakamura reported, her voice tight with tension. "But our cover's been blown, requesting immediate extraction." Before Steele could respond, the sound of energy weapons and alarms blared through the comm. Nakamura's voice came back, breathless. "We're fighting our way to the escape pods. We'll transmit all data immediately in case we don't make it." Steele's expression resolute as he watched the data packets flood in. "Hang on, Commander. I'm dispatching a rescue team to your coordinates now." In the Crimson Nebula, Commander Elena Volkov faced a threat unlike anything she'd encountered before. The unidentified objects had revealed themselves to be a swarm of biomechanical entities, perfectly adapted to the nebula's harsh environment. "All ships, defensive formation Zeta," Volkov ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding around her. "Protect those rescue shuttles at all costs." The CNS Intrepid shuddered as another volley of attacks bypassed its shields, tearing into the hull. Volkov gripped her command chair, her mind racing for a solution. "Commander," her tactical officer shouted, "our conventional weapons are having minimal effect. These things are adapting too quickly." Volkov's eyes narrowed as she made a snap decision. "Deploy the EMP warheads. Full spread. Let's see how these bastards handle a little electromagnetic pulse." As the warheads launched, Volkov watched the sensor readouts with anxious anticipation. The biomechanical swarm's coordinated movements began to falter as the EMP waves washed over them. "It's working," her tactical officer exclaimed. "Their swarm cohesion is breaking down." Volkov allowed herself a small smile. "All ships, this is our chance. Get those rescue shuttles to safety and prepare for emergency jump. We're getting out of this nebula." Back on Earth, Admiral James Hawthorne stood before the assembled representatives in Geneva, his heart swelling with pride as the final signatures were added to the Galactic Cooperation Accord. "Today, we take a crucial step toward securing humanity's future among the stars," Hawthorne declared. "With this agreement, we stand united against the threats that face us all." As the ceremony concluded, Hawthorne received an urgent message from Captain Hawkins. His face paled as he read the report on the approaching void storm. On the rogue planet, Major John Reeves and his team of human and John Doerr scientists huddled around a holographic display of the galaxy. Points of light scattered across the map represented theoretical energy extraction points powering the void storm. "If we can disable these points," Reeves explained, his voice filled with cautious optimism, "we might be able to weaken or even stop the storm's advance." In the atmosphere of the gas giant, Commander Jack Thompson worked feverishly to decipher the signals emanating from the awakening precursor installations. As patterns began to emerge, his eyes widened with realization. "My God," he breathed, "they're forming a network. But for what purpose?" As Thompson initiated the process of tapping into this vast communication web, a priority alert flashed across the screen. The long-range scout ships had visual confirmation of the void storm's approach. Aboard the Forge, Captain Hawkins absorbed the flood of information from all fronts. The accelerated timeline of the void storm's arrival, the potential of the Greater Forge, the new threats emerging in the Crimson Nebula. Each development carried with it the weight of countless lives. Hawkins took a deep breath, steeling himself for the decisions ahead. He turned to his command staff, his voice resolute. "Begin mass production of reality anchors immediately. We'll deploy them along the storm's projected path and initiate a galaxy-wide scan for those energy extraction points. If Reeves' theory is correct, those could be our key to stopping this thing." As the orders went out, another alert caught Hawkins' attention. Reports were coming in from the outer colonies. Entire systems going dark, their surfaces stripped clean by an unknown force. Hawkins stared at the galactic map, watching as more and more systems winked out of existence. The true scale of the threat they faced was becoming clearer by the moment, and the captain knew that the coming days would test the limits of their tenacity and ingenuity. With an unwavering dedication, Hawkins turned back to the task at hand. The hope of the universe hung in the balance, and there was no time to waste. The captain's voice rang out through the command center. "Initiate Operation Anchor Shield. All available production facilities are to switch to reality anchor manufacturing immediately." The order set off a chain reaction across human-controlled space. On Earth and its colonies, factory managers scrambled to reconfigure assembly lines. Workers poured into facilities, alert messages blinking on their comms as they rushed to their stations. In orbit around Mars, the Ares manufacturing complex hummed with newfound intensity. Chief Engineer Lila Patel wiped sweat from her brow as she oversaw the conversion of a Starship engine plant. "Reroute power to Section C," she shouted over the din of machinery. "We need those molecular assemblers online now." Back in the Arcturus system, Admiral Marcus Steele watched with grim satisfaction as the Void Walker fleet began to falter. The reality anchor's effects had turned the tide, creating pockets of reinforced space-time that disrupted the alien vessel's maneuverability. "All ships, press the advantage." Steele's voice crackled over the comm. "Disable as many of those bastards as you can. We need their tech intact." Coalition fighters swarmed around a crippled Void Walker cruiser, their weapons fire precise and calculated. As the alien ship systems failed, a boarding team led by Lieutenant Kira Chun prepared for insertion. "Remember, people," Chun briefed her team as their shuttle approached the disabled vessel. "We're here for intel and tech. Anything you don't understand, tag it for the eggheads." In the Crimson Nebula, Commander Elena Volkov gritted her teeth as the CNS Intrepid shuddered under another assault from the biomechanical swarm. The EMP warheads had bought them some time, but the respite was short-lived. "Helm, set course for Sector 7 Gamma," Volkov ordered, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. "All ships, form up on the Intrepid. We're punching through their lines." As the Coalition Task Force made its desperate push for the nebula's edge, sensors lit up with new contacts. Volkov's tactical officer called out. "Commander, coalition reinforcements detected on approach vector." A thin smile crossed Volkov's face. "Looks like our luck hasn't run out yet. All ships, make for the rally point. We're not out of this fight." At the galactic core, Captain Sarah Rogers stood before the massive structure of the Greater Forge, its surface pulsing with ethereal energy. Dr. Eliza Chin approached, her eyes wide with excitement. "Captain, we've cracked it," Chin announced, holding up a datapad. "The Forge's control systems. They're beyond anything we've ever seen. It can manipulate space-time on a galactic scale." Rogers nodded, her mind racing with the implications. "Get me a secure line to Coalition Command. We need more resources here, now." On the rogue planet, Major John Reeves and his team huddled around a holographic display of the galaxy. Newly identified energy signatures pulsed at various points across the map. "These must be the extraction points powering the Void Storm," Reeves mused, his finger tracing a pattern between the glowing dots. "We need eyes on these locations ASAP." In the atmosphere of the gas giant, Commander Jack Thompson's fingers flew across his console as he established a connection with the awakening precursor network. Data flooded his screens, a treasure trove of information about the ancient installations scattered across the galaxy. "My God," Thompson breathed, his eyes scanning the incoming data. "The scale of this network. It's incredible." Suddenly, alarms blared across his station. Thompson's brow furrowed as he read the incoming alerts. "What the hell? The installations. They're powering up." Aboard the Forge, Captain Hawkins received the first batch of mass-produced reality anchors. Engineers swarmed around the devices, running final checks before deployment. "Sir," a young lieutenant called out, "long-range sensors are picking up something massive emerging from the galactic core. It's a fleet, Captain. Bigger than anything we've ever seen." Hawkins's eyes narrowed as he studied the incoming data. The galaxy map before him was a tapestry of chaos, battles raging across multiple systems, colonies going dark, and now this new threat looming on the horizon. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for the challenges ahead. "Deploy the reality anchors along the Void Storm's projected path, and get me a secure line to Coalition Command. We need to reassess our strategy now." As Hawkins turned to address his command staff, the weight of the universe's destiny pressed down upon his shoulders. The true test of humanity's resilience was just beginning, and the captain knew that every decision made in the coming hours would shape the course of history. The captain's stubborn persistence was interrupted by a flurry of urgent alerts flooding his command console. "Sir, priority transmission from Captain Rogers at the Greater Forge," his communications officer reported, her voice tense. Hawkins's eyes widened as he absorbed the incoming data. The mysterious fleet emerging from the galactic core wasn't just massive. It was of precursor origin. "Get me a direct line to Captain Rogers," Hawkins ordered, his mind racing with the implications. Sarah Rogers' face appeared on the main view screen, her expression a mix of awe and apprehension. "Captain Hawkins, the designs match what we've seen at the Greater Forge. This fleet, it's definitely precursor technology." Hawkins nodded, his mind focused. "Captain, I need you to attempt communication with that fleet. Use everything we've learned from the Forge and other artifacts. We need to know their intentions." "Understood, sir," Rogers replied. "We're activating our long-range arrays now. I'll report back as soon as we have any response." As the transmission ended, Hawkins turned to his tactical officer. "Alert Admiral Steele. Tell him to redirect a portion of the Arcturus fleet to the galactic core. We need to be prepared for any outcome." Across the void of space, Admiral Marcus Steele received the orders. He quickly assembled his command staff, outlining a new defensive strategy. "We'll implement Formation Omega," Steele explained, manipulating a holographic display of the fleet. Position our ships in a three-dimensional grid. I want maximum coverage with our reality anchors. If this precursor fleet turns hostile, we need to be ready. As Steele's orders echoed through the coalition fleet, ships began to reposition themselves. Cruisers and destroyers moved into precise formations, their reality anchors creating an intricate web of reinforced space-time. Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral James Hawthorne stood before the hastily assembled International Coalition for Off-World Technology Oversight. The tension in the room was palpable as he addressed the group. "Ladies and gentlemen, the situation has escalated beyond our worst projections," Hawthorne began, his voice grave. "I'm implementing Protocol Omega, effective immediately." A collective gasp rippled through the room. Protocol Omega was a last resort measure, developed for scenarios that threaten the very existence of humanity. "We'll begin evacuating key personnel to our fortified facilities on Mars and Europa," Hawthorne continued. "This is not an admission of defeat, but a precaution to ensure our species' survival, no matter the outcome." As Hawthorne's words sank in, the coalition representatives nodded solemnly. Within minutes, the first evacuation orders were transmitted across the globe. In a nearby star system, Commander Elena Volkov's task force had just docked at a coalition outpost. As the rescued survivors were rushed to medical facilities, Volkov and her team huddled around a data terminal, analyzing the information they gathered on the biomechanical swarm. "Look at this." Volkov's science officer pointed to a series of energy signatures. "The swarm's adaptive capabilities. They're eerily similar to the energy patterns we've detected from the void storm extraction points." Volkov's eyes narrowed. "Send this data to Coalition Command immediately. This could be the break we've been looking for." As Volkov's findings made their way through Coalition channels, Major John Reeves and his team on the Rogue Planet were making a breakthrough of their own. "We've got them," Reeves exclaimed, his finger hovering over a holographic map. 3 energy extraction points, all within our controlled space. He quickly composed a message to Coalition Command, emphasizing the critical nature of their discovery. "If we can neutralize these points, we might be able to weaken the void storm itself." Captain Hawkins received both reports almost simultaneously. His mind raced as he formulated a plan, fingers flying across his command console. "Initiate Operation Stormbreaker," Hawkins ordered, his voice resonating through the Forge's command center. "I want 3 strike teams assembled and deployed to those extraction points immediately." Within hours, 3 elite teams were en route to their targets, each led by a veteran coalition officer. Colonel Victor Petrov's team was the first to arrive, touching down on a desolate moon in the Sirius system. "Contact," Petrov's second-in-command shouted as they exited their dropship. Energy bolts sizzled through the air as Void Walker forces engaged them. Petrov ducked behind a rocky outcropping, his pulse rifle at the ready. "Push forward. We need to reach that control facility." As Petrov's team fought their way across the moon's surface, Major Lydia Zhang's strike force approached their objective in the Betelgeuse system. A massive space station loomed before them, orbiting a dying star. "Prepare for spacewalk insertion," Zhang ordered, her voice calm despite the danger ahead. "Remember, we only get one shot at this." The third team, led by Commander Akira Tanaka, found themselves navigating a treacherous asteroid field in the Vega system. Automated defense turrets spring to life, peppering their approach vector with energy blasts. "Evasive maneuvers," Tanaka barked, his hands gripping the controls of their assault shuttle. "Weapons free. Clear us a path to that extraction point." As the strike teams engaged their objectives, Commander Jack Thompson worked feverishly in the atmosphere of the gas giant. He had discovered a way to boost the reality anchor's power using the precursor network, but the process was delicate and dangerous. "Rerouting power now," Thompson muttered, sweat beading on his forehead as he manipulated the alien controls. Hold together, you beautiful bastards. Across the galaxy, the mysterious precursor fleet began to move. Long-range sensors detected the massive armada, splitting into smaller groups, each heading towards different sectors of the galaxy. Captain Hawkins stared at the tactical display, watching as the situation grew increasingly complex. The strike team's battle for control of the energy extraction points. The precursor fleet's intentions remained unknown, and the Void Storm continued its relentless advance. As alerts and status reports flooded in from across Coalition space, Hawkins knew that the next few hours would determine the fate of not just humanity, but all sentient life in the galaxy. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for the challenges ahead, and began issuing a new series of orders. Orders! The galaxy map before him shifted and pulsed with new data, each update more urgent than the last. Hawkins's eyes darted between multiple screens, processing the influx of information from the strike teams he had just deployed. Sir, Colonel Petrov's team has made landfall in the Sirius system, reported his tactical officer. They're encountering heavy resistance from Void Walker forces. Hawkins nodded grimly. Patch me through to Petrov. The comm channel crackled to life, filled with the sounds of energy weapons and shouted orders. Colonel Petrov's voice cut through the chaos. Captain, we're pushing towards a control facility. The Void Walkers are dug in deep, but we're making progress. Understood, Colonel. Keep pressing forward. We need that reality anchor planted. Hawkins replied, his voice steady despite the tension in his chest. As he closed the channel, another alert flashed on his screen. Major Zhang's team had successfully infiltrated the space station orbiting Betelgeuse. Hawkins leaned in, listening intently to Zhang's report. Captain, we've encountered unexpected complications. Zhang's voice came through, slightly distorted. There are alien scientists here, studying the energy extraction process. We've had to detain them. Hawkins's brow furrowed. Secure them as prisoners, Major. We can't risk them interfering with the mission. Proceed with caution. Before he could process this new development, Commander Tanaka's voice burst through another channel. Captain Hawkins, we've lost 3 ships to the defense systems in the Vega system, requesting permission to implement Plan Delta. Hawkins hesitated for a split second, aware of the risks involved in Tanaka's proposed strategy. Permission granted, Commander. Use the Void Walker vessel, but be prepared for any contingency. As Tanaka's team executed their daring maneuver, Hawkins's attention was pulled to a priority transmission from Captain Rogers at the Greater Forge. Her face appeared on the main view screen, her eyes wide with a mix of excitement and apprehension. Captain, the Precursor Fleet. They're transmitting data directly into the Forge's systems, Rogers reported, her fingers flying over a console off-screen. It's incredible. We're still decoding it, but it looks like some kind of master plan for combating the Void Storm. Hawkins leaned forward, his heart racing. Keep working on it, Sarah. This could be the breakthrough we need. As Rogers' team delved into the precursor data, reports flooded in from Admiral Steele's fleet. The Void Walker battle groups had engaged, testing the limits of the reality anchor defense grid. Hawkins watched the tactical display, his teeth gritted as he saw coalition ships maneuvering within the reinforced pockets of space-time. Sir, Admiral Hawthorne reports that Protocol Omega is underway, his communications officer announced. Evacuation ships are launching from Earth now. Hawkins closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of humanity's future pressing down on him. When he opened them again, his gaze was steely and determined. Commander Volkov, report, he ordered, switching to another comm channel. Volkov's voice came through, tinged with excitement. Captain, we've identified a weakness in the biomechanical swarm. It's linked to specific electromagnetic frequencies. We're modifying our ship's emitters now to exploit it. Excellent work, Commander. Get those modifications to all Coalition ships ASAP, Hawkins replied. As he processed this new information, an alert from Major Reeves on the rogue planet caught his attention. Reeves's face appeared on a side screen, his expression grim. "Captain, we've made a discovery about the Void Storm," Reeves reported. "It's not just a weapon. It's some kind of cosmic recycling mechanism, created by an ancient race to harvest energy from dying universes." Hawkins felt a chill run down his spine. "Keep digging, Major. We need to understand what we're dealing with." Suddenly, alarms blared across the command center. Hawkins spun towards his sensor officer. "Report. Sir, massive energy surge detected across the precursor network," the officer announced, her voice strained. "Commander Thompson's power boost to the reality anchors has triggered a cascade of activations. Precursor technology is powering up across the galaxy." Before Hawkins could respond, another alert demanded his attention. Lieutenant Commander Nakamura's infiltration team had successfully boarded the Void Walker command ship, but they were facing unexpected resistance. "Captain, we've encountered a new type of Void Walker soldier." Nakamura's voice came through, punctuated by the sound of energy weapons. "They're enhanced with advanced personal shielding. We're adapting our tactics, but it's slowing our progress." Hawkins opened his mouth to reply when a final alert silenced the entire command center. His chief science officer stood, face pale, staring at a long-range sensor display. "Captain," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "we're detecting a massive anomaly at the edge of the galaxy. It's a tear in space-time, sir, and it's growing." Hawkins stared at the display, his mind racing to process the implications of this new development. The coalition forces were stretched thin across multiple fronts, facing challenges beyond anything they had anticipated. As he prepared to issue new orders, Hawkins knew that the next few hours would test humanity's determination and ingenuity like never before. The fate of not just Earth, but countless worlds across the galaxy hung in the balance. And somewhere out there, amidst the chaos and destruction, lay the key to their survival. If only they could find it in time. Time! The massive tear in space-time loomed ominously at the edge of the galaxy, a stark reminder of the cosmic stakes they faced. Hawkins's fingers flew across his command console, issuing a flurry of new orders. "Initiate Operation Firewall," he commanded, his voice cutting through the tension in the command center. "Redeploy all available reality anchors to form a barrier along the galactic edge. We need to contain whatever might come through that tear." As ships and personnel scrambled to execute the new defensive strategy, reports from the Operation Stormbreaker strike teams flooded in. Colonel Petrov's voice crackled over the comm, breathless but triumphant. "Captain, reality anchor planted and activated in the Sirius system. Void Walker reinforcements neutralized." Before Hawkins could respond, Major Zhang's transmission cut in. "Beetlejuice team reporting. We've activated our anchor, but the situation is critical. The extraction point was linked to the star's core. We're evacuating now, but the station won't hold much longer." Alarms blared as the space station in the Beetlejuice system began to break apart, Zhang's team racing to their escape shuttles. The dying star pulsed ominously, its unstable core reacting to the reality anchor's activation. In the Vega system, Commander Tanaka's voice joined the chorus of reports. "Massive biomechanical construct guarding the extraction point. Engaging with modified emitters. It's working, but this thing won't go down easy." The command center's main display split into multiple feeds, showing the fierce battle in the Vega asteroid field. Tanaka's ships weaved between massive tentacles of living metal, their modified weapons causing visible disruptions in the construct's coordination. Amidst the chaos, Captain Rogers' face appeared on a priority channel. "Captain Hawkins, we've decrypted the precursor data. They've given us plans for a device called the Void Siphon. It could redirect the Void Storm's energy to seal the tear." Hawkins's eyes widened. "That's the break we've been waiting for. How soon can you start construction? We're reconfiguring the Greater Forge now, Rogers replied, her image flickering as she moved between consoles. But it's going to take time we might not have. As if to underscore Rogers' point, Admiral Steele's fleet status update flashed on another screen. Coalition ships were falling back to a secondary defensive line, their reality anchor grid showing signs of strain under the relentless Void Walker assault. On Earth, the last evacuation ships lifted off, carrying the remnants of humanity's legacy to distant colonies. Admiral Hawthorne's grim face appeared on the command center's main viewer. Protocol Omega complete, Captain. Earth's planetary shield is online. We'll hold as long as we can. The image shifted to show Earth encased in a shimmering energy field, a last-ditch defense against the impending storm. Hawkins felt a pang of emotion, quickly suppressed as he turned his attention back to the immediate crisis. Commander Thompson's voice cut through the din of incoming reports. Captain, the precursor network is forming some kind of galactic energy grid. I think we can use it to boost our reality anchors, effect across multiple systems simultaneously. Do it, Hawkins ordered without hesitation. Coordinate with Admiral Steele's fleet. We need to buy time for the Void Siphon's construction. As Thompson worked to harness the awakening precursor technology, Lieutenant Commander Nakamura's infiltration team made their move on the Void Walker command ship. Nakamura's voice came through, punctuated by the sounds of hand-to-hand combat. Engaging the ship's chief engineer. Commencing sabotage of key systems. The galactic map before Hawkins pulsed with new data points as the precursor fleet dispersed, taking up strategic positions around key star systems. Their coordinated movements suggested a larger plan unfolding, though their ultimate intentions remained a mystery. Amidst the flurry of activity, a priority transmission from Major Reeves on the rogue planet caught Hawkins's attention. Captain, we've found evidence that the precursors faced a similar threat in the past. They used a network of void siphons to redirect a void storm's energy and sealed an interdimensional rift. Hawkins's mind raced, connecting the pieces of this cosmic puzzle. Rogers, are you getting this? We need to adapt the void siphon plans to create a network. It's not just one tier we're dealing with, it's the entire fabric of space-time. As Rogers and her team at the Greater Forge scrambled to modify their construction plans, the Coalition forces pressed on. The success of Operation Stormbreaker hung by a thread, with 2 energy extraction points neutralized and the third under heavy assault. The interdimensional tear at the galaxy's edge continued to grow, a yawning chasm of utter darkness that threatened to engulf everything in its path. Hawkins stood at the center of the command center, a maelstrom of information swirling around him. He knew that the next few hours would determine not just the fate of humanity, but the very existence of their universe. As the Coalition forces raced against time, the void storm loomed ever closer, its tendrils of chaos reaching out to consume all in its path. The battle for the galaxy's survival had entered its most critical phase, and every decision, every action, could tip the scales between salvation and oblivion. Annihilation. Hawkins took a deep breath, steadying himself for the next phase of the battle. Status report on Operation Stormbreaker, he commanded, his voice cutting through the tension in the command center. His tactical officer responded immediately, her fingers flying across her console. Sir, we received confirmation from Colonel Petrov and Major Zhang. The energy extraction points in Sirius and Betelgeuse have been neutralized. A flicker of hope sparked in Hawkins's eyes. And Vega, as if on cue, Commander Tanaka's voice crackled through the comm system. Vega team reporting, Captain. We've overcome the biomechanical construct. Reality anchor deployed and active. I repeat, all 3 energy extraction points are neutralized. A collective sigh of relief rippled through the command center. Hawkins allowed himself a brief moment of satisfaction before refocusing on the myriad challenges still facing them. Sensor analysis, he barked. What's the impact on the void storm? The science officer studied her readings intently. Sir, we're detecting a significant decrease in the storm's intensity. Its advance has slowed considerably. We've bought ourselves some time, but it's still a threat. Hawkins nodded grimly. Time we desperately need. Patch me through to Captain Rogers at the Greater Forge. Rogers's face appeared on the main screen, her expression a mix of persistence and exhaustion. Captain Hawkins, we're making progress on the Void Siphon. The precursor data is proving invaluable. We've integrated their technology with our own, and construction is accelerating. Excellent work, Sarah, Hawkins replied. Keep pushing. That siphon might be our last line of defense. As Rogers signed off, Admiral Steele's fleet status update flashed across a secondary display. Hawkins studied it intently, noting the shift in battle lines. It seems the weakened void storm has given Steele's forces some breathing room, he mused aloud. Order all available ships to support the counteroffensive. We need to press this advantage while we have it. The command center buzzed with activity as orders were relayed and strategies adjusted. Hawkins turned his attention to Earth, opening a channel to Admiral Hawthorne. James, what's the status of Earth's defenses? Hawthorne's image appeared, the backdrop behind him a flurry of activity. We've just completed a successful test of the planetary shield, John. It's online and integrated with our defense grid. If the Void Walkers make it past our fleets, they'll have one hell of a fight on their hands. Hawkins nodded approvingly. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. Keep me updated on any developments. As he closed the channel, an alert chimed from the long-range sensor station. The science officer's eyes widened as she processed the incoming data. Captain, we're detecting massive objects emerging from the interdimensional tear, she reported, her voice tense. Configuration matches Void Walker designs, but these are unlike anything we've encountered before. They appear to be an advanced guard of some kind. Hawkins's eyes sharp as he watched the massive vessels materialize on the main display. Inform Admiral Steele. All ships are to engage and delay that invasion force at all costs. He paused for a moment, weighing his options before making a decision that could alter the course of the war. Initiate Protocol Exodus, he ordered, his voice resolute. Activate all hidden precursor facilities. We need every ship we can get our hands on. As the command was relayed, reports began flooding in from across the galaxy. Long-dormant installations hummed to life, revealing vast shipyards capable of constructing advanced vessels at an unprecedented rate. Amidst the chaos, a priority transmission from the rogue planet caught Hawkins's attention. Major Reeves's face appeared on screen, his eyes bright with excitement despite the exhaustion evident on his features. Captain, we've made a breakthrough, Reeves announced. We've uncovered plans for a device called the Nexus Core. It has the potential to link all active precursor technology into a unified network. Combined with the Void Siphon and Commander Thompson's energy grid, it could create a galaxy-wide defense system powerful enough to repel both the Void Storm and the invasion force. Hawkins leaned forward, his mind racing with the implications. This could be the key we've been looking for, John. How soon can we have it operational? We're already beginning construction, Reeves replied. But it's going to be close. We'll need to hold off the Void Walkers long enough to bring it online. As Reeves signed off, Hawkins turned to face the galactic map dominating the center of the command room. The situation was changing rapidly, with new data points appearing every second. The Void Storm's forward momentum had halted completely, its energy being drawn towards the newly activated Void Siphon at the Greater Forge. Captain Rogers and her team worked feverishly to control and redirect the massive influx of power towards the interdimensional tear. The precursor fleet, now fully integrated with coalition forces, took up defensive positions around key strategic points. Their advanced technology proved crucial in holding back the initial wave of the Void Walker invasion force, but the sheer number of enemy ships threatened to overwhelm even these combined defenses. Hawkins watched as Admiral Steele's entire reserve force deployed to reinforce the defensive line at the galaxy's edge. Ships from every allied species joined the battle, creating a multi-species armada unlike anything seen before in the history of the galaxy. The command center fell silent as the enormity of the moment settled over everyone present. They were witnessing the largest space battle in galactic history, with the fate of not just humanity, but all sentient life in the Milky Way hanging in the balance. Hawkins stood at the center of it all, his mind processing countless streams of information as he coordinated the defense of an entire galaxy. The void siphon continued to draw energy from the contracting void storm, the Nexus core near completion, and coalition forces clashed with the Void Walker invasion fleet in a titanic struggle at the edge of known space. As reports of fierce engagements and desperate heroics flooded in from across the battlefield, Hawkins knew that the next few hours would determine the outcome of this cosmic conflict. The Coalition had 2 more major pushes left before the conclusion of this epic struggle, and he intended to make every second count. Count! The next phase of the battle was about to unfold, and Hawkins knew it would be their most crucial yet. All stations, prepare for maximum engagement, Hawkins ordered, his voice steady despite the tension gripping the command center. We're initiating our final push. As if in response to his words, the massive view screen before him erupted with new data streams. The space battle at the galaxy's edge intensified, Coalition ships clashing with the Void Walker invasion force in a dazzling display of firepower and tactics. At the heart of it all, the Greater Forge glowed like a second sun. Captain Sarah Rogers' voice crackled through the comm system, strained but determined. Void siphon operating at peak capacity, Captain. We're channeling unprecedented levels of energy from the storm. Hawkins watched as the structure began to vibrate, emitting a blinding light visible even from neighboring star systems. The raw power being harnessed was staggering, a testament to both human ingenuity and the legacy of the precursors. Status on the Nexus core? Hawkins asked, turning to his communications officer. Major Reeves reports completion, sir, came the swift reply. The core is interfacing with Commander Thompson's energy grid now. On the main display, Hawkins watched as precursor installations across the galaxy lit up one by one, forming a vast, interconnected network. The Nexus core, a pulsing sphere of energy on the rogue planet, served as the linchpin of this galactic-scale defense system. Admiral Steele's face appeared on a secondary screen, his expression grim but focused. Coalition Armada is engaged, Captain. We're coordinating strikes against key points in the Void Walker formation. Hawkins nodded, studying the tactical overlay. The combined firepower of the Coalition ships, bolstered by the precursor fleet's advanced weaponry, was creating breaches in the enemy lines. Yet the sheer number of Void Walker vessels threatened to overwhelm even these combined defenses. Initiate the next phase of Protocol Exodus, Hawkins commanded. Bring those precursor shipyards online. We need every ship we can get. Within moments, reports began flooding in from across the galaxy. Hidden precursor facilities hummed to life, revealing vast shipyards capable of constructing advanced vessels at an unprecedented rate. Waves of ships, their hulls gleaming with a mix of human and alien design, launched into space, piloted by a combination of AI systems and volunteer crews from various Coalition species. As these reinforcements joined the fray, Hawkins received an urgent communication from Lieutenant Commander Nakamura. Her face appeared on screen, bearing the marks of recent combat. Captain, we've successfully sabotaged the Void Walker command ship, she reported. We're linking up with a Coalition strike force to exploit the intel we've gathered. Hawkins felt a surge of pride. Excellent work, Nakamura. Hit them where it hurts. The battle raged on, a cosmic dance of destruction and strategy. Hawkins coordinated the efforts of countless ships and crews, his mind processing vast streams of data as he sought to outmaneuver the Void Walker threat. Suddenly, the science officer called out, her voice urgent. "Captain, energy readings from the Greater Forge are off the charts." Hawkins turned his attention to the main viewer, just in time to see a colossal beam of energy erupt from the forge. It struck the interdimensional tear, causing the rift to fluctuate wildly. "Rogers, report," Hawkins demanded. Captain Rogers' voice came through, filled with a mix of excitement and concern. "We're redirecting the Void Storm's energy directly against the tear. Sir, it's working, but the strain on the forge is immense. We're not sure how long we can maintain this level of output." As if to underscore her words, the structure of the Greater Forge began to show signs of stress, its framework groaning under the immense forces it was channeling. Simultaneously, Major Reeves's voice cut through the din of battle reports. "Captain, the Nexus Core is amplifying every reality anchor in Coalition space. We're creating a barrier of reinforced space-time, but there's more. We've detected an anomaly. The core is interfacing with Void Walker systems." Hawkins's mind raced, seeing the potential in this unexpected development. "Can we use that connection, Major?" "Affirmative," Reeves replied. "We're working on a disruptive signal to broadcast through their fleet. It could turn the tide of the battle." As Reeves and his team worked feverishly to exploit this new advantage, the space around the galactic edge transformed into a maelstrom of energy weapons fire and distorted space-time. Coalition ships, their hulls reinforced by the Reality Anchor network, traded blows with the technologically superior Void Walker vessels. In a surprising turn, several Void Walker ships suddenly broke formation, turning against their own fleet. Nakamura's sabotage had sown chaos in the enemy ranks, creating a schism that the Coalition forces were quick to exploit. Admiral Steele's voice cut through the chaos. "All ships form up. We're pushing for the rift. Now's our chance to cut off their reinforcements." The Coalition Armada, bolstered by the newly arrived ships from the precursor shipyards, formed a spearhead formation. They drove towards the heart of the Void Walker fleet, aiming to reach the contracting tier before it could close completely. As the battle reached its fever pitch, Hawkins stood at the center of the command room, orchestrating the largest space battle in galactic history. The fate of not just humanity, but all sentient life in the Milky Way hung in the balance. With the Coalition's multi-layered defense strategies showing promise, but the Void Walkers pressing forward relentlessly, the final outcome remained uncertain. Hawkins's eyes narrowed as he watched the unfolding chaos on the main viewer. The next few moments would determine the future of the galaxy, and he was determined to see humanity and their allies emerge victorious. Victoriously, with a deep breath, he turned to his communications officer. "Open a channel to all Coalition forces," Hawkins ordered, his voice steady despite the tension. "It's time for our final push." As the channel opened, Hawkins's resolute voice echoed across the vast expanse of space, reaching every ship and installation engaged in the cosmic struggle. "This is Captain Hawkins. All units, prepare for maximum engagement. We're initiating our final offensive now." The response was immediate. Across the battlefield, Coalition ships tightened their formations, weapon systems powering up to full capacity. The precursor fleet, its advanced technology, now fully integrated with human systems, took point positions, their hulls gleaming with otherworldly energy. At the Greater Forge, Captain Sarah Rogers and her team worked feverishly to maintain control over the Void Siphon. The massive structure vibrated violently, its framework groaning under the immense strain of channeling the Void Storm's energy. "Status report," Rogers shouted over the cacophony of alarms and creaking metal. Her chief engineer, face slick with sweat, looked up from a console streaming data at a dizzying rate. "We're at 98% capacity, Captain. The Forge can't take much more of this. Rogers's eyes narrowed as she watched the energy readouts climb higher. She knew they were pushing the ancient structure beyond its limits, but they had no choice. The future of the stars hung in the balance. Divert all non-essential power to structural integrity, she ordered. We need to hold this thing together just a little longer. As the Greater Forge strained under the colossal energies it was channeling, Major John Reeves and his team on the rogue planet made a startling discovery. The Nexus Core, pulsing with newfound power, had established an unexpected connection with Void Walker systems. Reeves's fingers flew over his console, his mind racing. "This is it," he muttered. "Our chance to turn the tide." Without hesitation, he began programming a complex disruptive signal designed to exploit weaknesses in the enemy's neural network. In the heart of the space battle, Admiral Marcus Steele's voice cut through the chaos. "All ships form up. We're pushing for the rift. Now's our chance to cut off their reinforcements." The Coalition Armada responded with practiced precision. Ships of various designs and origins moved as one, forming a massive, three-dimensional wedge formation. At the tip of this cosmic spear, the most advanced vessels from the Precursor Fleet led the charge, their weapons leaving trails of distorted space-time in their wake. As the Coalition forces pressed their advantage, Lieutenant Commander Aiko Nakamura and her strike team fought their way through the labyrinthine corridors of the Void Walker flagship. The air crackled with energy discharges as they engaged the ship's defenders, a mix of automated systems and beings composed of swirling, impossibly strong energy. "Push forward," Nakamura shouted, her voice barely audible over the sound of weapons fire. "We need to reach the command center." Back on the Forge, Captain Hawkins received urgent transmissions from all fronts. His mind processed the incoming data at lightning speed, coordinating the complex dance of ships and energy across the vast theater of war. "Sir," his tactical officer called out, "Admiral Hawthorne reports Earth's defenses are fully operational. The Oort cloud installations are powering up." Hawkins nodded grimly. It was a contingency he had hoped they wouldn't need, but he was glad for the extra firepower. "Tell Hawthorne to engage at will. We need every advantage we can get." As if in response to humanity's grit, the Greater Forge suddenly pulsed with blinding light. Captain Rogers's voice, strained but resolute, came through the comms. "This is it, Captain Hawkins. We can't hold it any longer. Initiating controlled overload now." Hawkins watched in awe as the Forge released a colossal beam of energy directly into the interdimensional tear. The rift fluctuated wildly, its edges contracting under the onslaught of power. Simultaneously, Major Reeves's voice cut through the din. "Disruptive signal ready, Captain. Broadcasting now." Across the battlefield, Void Walker ships began to falter. Their coordinated movements became erratic, their energy weapons flickering and dying. The Coalition forces pressed their advantage, tearing through the suddenly vulnerable enemy fleet. As the battle reached its crescendo, Hawkins made a fateful decision. He ordered the Forge to approach the shrinking rift, intent on using the ancient ship's reality-altering capabilities to seal it once and for all. "All hands, brace for extreme gravitational forces," Hawkins commanded, his grip tightening on the arms of his chair as the Forge moved into position. The ship shuddered as it channeled its power into the tear. Alarms blared as systems throughout the vessel overloaded and failed. Yet the Forge held, its ancient technology straining against the cosmic forces it sought to contain. In a blinding flash of light, the interdimensional rift collapsed in on itself. The remaining Void Walker ships, cut off from their home dimension, scattered in disarray. Some fled towards the galactic rim, while others powered down, signaling their surrender. As the light faded and the dust of battle began to settle, an eerie calm descended over the battlefield. Hawkins leaned forward, his eyes scanning the tactical displays for any sign of remaining threats. Status report, he ordered, his voice hoarse from hours of issuing commands. His officers worked quickly, compiling data from across the vast battlefield. As the reports came in, a picture of hard-fought victory began to emerge. The void storm had dissipated, its energy dispersed harmlessly throughout the galaxy. The Void Walker invasion had been repelled, and the interdimensional tear was sealed. Yet, as Hawkins surveyed the aftermath, he knew that the cost of this victory had been immense. Countless lives had been lost, and much of the galaxy bore the scars of the conflict. The real work, he realized, was just beginning. Open a channel to all coalition forces, Hawkins said, straightening in his chair. It's time to secure the battlefield and begin rescue operations. As the coalition ships began the task of searching for survivors and securing Void Walker prisoners, Hawkins turned his attention to the future. The galaxy had been saved, but it would need to be rebuilt. And humanity, having played a crucial role in its salvation, would have a significant part to play in shaping that future. With a deep breath, Hawkins prepared to address the surviving coalition forces. The battle was over, but a new chapter in galactic history was about to begin.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.